And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the Channel crossing as the dangerous bit, but actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants, and as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is late Tuesday night. It is Tuesday, isn't it? I always get confused with that kind of time around this time of year. As we go into the festive week, it all blurs into one. I'm Duncan Barkes, once again sitting in for Petri Hoskin. A little housekeeping note here. If you want to know where Petri is, she was on earlier today between 1 and 4 this afternoon, and then is back on Monday after the weekend between 1 and 4 in the afternoon. So I'm just taking care of late nights for another night here at Talk. Hope you had a good day. I'm just going to make this observation. I was out and about doing some very last-minute Christmas shopping, and it is psychotic out there. I mean, seriously psychotic. There's a look in people's eyes at the moment which is just beyond belief. I don't know what's going on. I think people are feeling the stress of the festivities. If that is you, stick with me until 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. A ton of stuff to talk about here. It's the place where the nation comes to talk. Well, I mentioned earlier with Johnny, just before the news, we're going to talk about what it means to be working class a little bit later on. Is it about how much money you earn? Is it about what you do for a living? I mean, we're in a country where if you earn £80,000 a year, according to this government, and you're a train driver, you're classed as working class, which I just can't get my head around. No disrespect to any train drivers. I've never earned 80 grand a year. Has anyone else earned 80 grand a year? So what does it mean to be working class? We'll look at that a little bit later on in this hour, and also ask you what you are. How do you define yourself? And what is it about this country? Do we have a class system? We do. Not every country around the world does. Gabby, who's producing tonight, was telling me about Italy, and we don't have this kind of label system of going, well, I'm middle class, I'm lower class, whatever that means, I'm working class. We'll get into that as time goes on. One of my favourite subjects as well, pubs. We are on a mission tonight here on Talk to save the great British boozer. Now, you can probably tell by my beer gut and my ruddy complexion, I spent quite a lot of my life in pubs. I like a pub, and I'll tell you why a little bit later on, but you don't need to be the sharpest tool in the box to realise that the pubs in this country are really under the cosh at the moment. Some say due to the government, other people say people's social habits of drinking. I mean, Gen Z, right? I know Gen Zers who would never go inside a pub. I think they're scared of them. I'm obviously not a Gen Zer, I'm a Gen X. We have generations coming through who don't drink in the way perhaps that you do, or I do. So things are changing, but we're going to talk about pubs. We're going to talk to a landlady at the Rayleigh Arms in Essex about her pub. I'm going to be talking about some of my favourite pubs, so it might be a long night, and I want you to tell me what the pub means to you. So we'll get into that. But first off tonight, foreign aid, an issue that everyone seems to have an opinion on, and rightly so. Why? Because ultimately, it's your money. it's my money. It's not government money. I mean, we must just get this nailed tonight, all right? You have politicians who talk about, oh, government money. It's not government money. It's never been government money. It's our money because they take it away with the law of the land in taxation, okay? So it's our money, which is why you will have a view regarding foreign aid and how much we spend as a nation and we give to other countries around the world. Now, you can look at this two ways. You can look at it from the point of view of someone who is charitable, perhaps quite benevolent, who goes, look, despite some of the challenges in Great Britain today, and by God, there are quite a few of them, we are still a rich nation compared to many countries around the world. We're still at the moment, despite the Labour government's best attempts to make the economy not work, we still are in the top 10, last time I checked, of the richest countries around the globe. And on that basis, we can afford to help other countries around the world, can't we? Or do you find yourself thinking, whoa, hang on, it's that old phrase, charity begins at home. And there are so many things that need sorting in this country today that we need to sort them out first before we start helping other nations. 0344 499 1000. We're going to do some of your calls on this a little bit later on in the show. But I want to take a temperature check tonight across the United Kingdom. When we talk about foreign aid, how important is foreign aid to you? Is it vital that as a democratic nation, mostly in this country, as a relatively prosperous nation, that we do our bit to help other countries around the world? And why I want to talk about this is off the back of Reform UK. This isn't really a reform story. We talked about reform and the Conservatives last night. This is more about something to talk about foreign aid, to really focus on if it matters and if it's important, because Reform UK have announced that they would slash the aid budget by 90%, 90%, and cap it at £1 billion a year, which in the great scheme of things is not a great deal of money. That's about 0.03% of GDP, gross domestic product. Labour, just so you know, is already set to reduce the aid from 0.5% to 0.3% by 2027. This is something that Keir Starmer has received quite a bit of flack about from his backbench Labour MPs. I'm old enough to remember, and also enough of a political junkie to recall that David Cameron, remember him, the very successful Conservative Prime Minister, David Cameron in 2015 put into law, he legislated, he enshrined in law that Britain would spend 0.7% of its national income, its GDP, on foreign aid. That was back in 2015. I know a lot has happened in the world of politics since then. Things have changed. Let's talk about foreign aid tonight here on Talk. 0344 499 1000 is the number. Book your place. We'll chat to you later as the show continues. How important is foreign aid to you? Do you think Britain should be doing big things to help other countries around the world? The phrase is often used, soft power, soft power. It's not just about giving money for various projects. What this allows people to do, i.e. governments, any government who funds foreign aid, is it allows them to influence things around the world. It's called a soft power tool. So, you know, you can kind of influence how a country operates by giving them a shed load of cash. That's basically how it is. 87222 is the text number. Start your message with the word talk. You can send a voice note to 0344 499 1000. WhatsApp messages to that as well. And if you fancy a chinwag about it, and why wouldn't you? Because, you know, this is the original social media. 0344 499 1000. Social, or rather foreign aid. How important is foreign aid to you? And just a reminder, on social media you can find us at talkTV. Let's get a view on this from Maria Finity, a political economist. Hello.
Hi, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for your time on this Tuesday night. It's very good of you to find some time just ahead of Christmas 2025, so it's much appreciated. Maria, I want to get a handle on this. I mean, we're wrestling with this a little bit tonight on Talk, because on one side of the argument you go, there are so many things in this country that need sorting out, okay? We can't really spend a great deal of money on foreign aid. Then you can flip around and go, but we still are a rich nation compared to many nations around the world, so we should be doing our bit. What's your opinion?
So I think that this idea that supporting our partners around the world and protecting the interests of ordinary people in the UK are at odds is fundamentally wrong. I think, on the contrary, dodging our international obligations is actually bad for Britain. It's dangerous for Britain. You know, it risks increasing conflicts around the world, which will increase defence costs in the long run. It reduces opportunities for trade and markets for UK businesses. It accelerates a climate crisis that is actually highly likely to raise, and is already raising, prices of essential goods in supermarkets for ordinary people here in the UK. So we ignore these international obligations at our peril, and I think to pit these two things against each other, you know, protecting global stability and protecting the interests of people here in the UK is fundamentally flawed.
Yeah, you used an interesting word there. You used the word dodge. Why would you say that Britain might be dodging its responsibilities? Surely you look at the economy and go, at the moment, we can't afford to do this. That's not dodging, that's common sense.
Well, I think if you look at the economic common sense arguments, then you can see that the calculations just don't add up. The numbers don't add up when it comes to claims about saving money or helping UK taxpayers save money by implementing aid cuts. In fact, we've had dozens of military experts, for example, saying that a lot of aid money is used to stabilize conflict zones, and that actually cutting aid is likely to lead to higher defense costs in the longer term. And as I've just said, it also means we can't tackle things like the climate crisis, which is pushing up the costs of fuel and food for ordinary working families here in the UK. So the idea that by cutting aid we save money, it's not actually likely to be that straightforward. And I think the idea that's implicit in these suggestions that we should just slash the aid budget, that abandoning our global obligations costs nothing is fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, there's always a cost associated with any decision, right? And I think you make a fair point there. But what do you say to our listeners and viewers tonight who just go, look, we often hear from politicians saying the NHS needs more money, this area over here needs more money. I mean, the list can be endless or whatever, who go, well, actually, and I'm going to use a phrase that you probably won't like, charity starts at home, right? That's what some people say. So what do you say to our listeners who just go, no, we shouldn't be spending money in this way?
Well, firstly, I think the idea that we live in some sort of vacuum and that global suffering, global conflicts, global emergencies don't affect us is frankly a nonsense. We live in an interconnected world, whether we like it or not.
Who's saying that, though?
Well, I think it's somewhat implicit in the idea that we should slash the aid budget and that we don't need to worry about these things that are happening abroad, that we should focus on what's happening here at home, because actually what happens at home is affected by the things that happen abroad.
No, I get that. But with the greatest respect, the point I put to you, which I think is a fair point, is I often hear people on this station who say, well, charity begins at home. And what I'm saying to you is, if people have that position, which I can understand completely, when they say, I can't get a doctor's appointment. I mean, you know the list of reasons I can give you. All right. When they say that, what would your response be to them?
Absolutely. I think it's such a good point. And, you know, around Christmas time, many of us are feeling squeezed. And I completely understand that people want to prioritise investing in the NHS, and that's absolutely right. But the fact is that by focusing on global challenges like tackling the climate crisis, tackling soaring inequality, financial instability, we could actually improve and enable economic growth here in the UK and have more to invest in the long term. And not only that, it's not just about aid. Global development is about so much more than aid as well. And I think it's telling that politicians who are talking about slashing the aid budget aren't talking about the low-cost, no-cost options that won't cost UK taxpayers a single penny, but could help stabilise the global economy and tackle poverty and inequality, like cracking down on global tax evasion, for example, which wouldn't cost the UK taxpayer anything, but could help address these challenges.
So cracking down on global tax evasion, you think would be a way of actually, if you like, getting the British economy, well, putting more money, if you like, or having more money available in the British economy to spend on things that some people might go, this needs investment?
Absolutely. I mean, every country in the world loses out as a result of tax evasion. Low-income countries, the poorest countries in the world, lose out at about 5 times the rate that richer countries do, because they don't have robust tax structures like we do. But all of us lose out from this. And the fact is that when low-income countries lose out to such an enormous degree, it means that they can't grow their economies, they can't become trading partners for the UK, they can't become markets that UK companies can then access, and we see higher rates of global inequality, poverty, suffering. So the moral arguments are clear, but the practical economic common sense arguments are also incredibly strong.
The moral arguments are clear, but I would argue to try and crack down on global tax evasion, Britain would only play a very small part on that. And a lot of our listeners, I don't want to be rude, but you know, if I go out and talk to people on Clapham High Road and say to them, what's your view on foreign aid? They'd go, well, we should be spending the money in this country and sorting things out. The idea that Britain should have a part to play in cracking down on global tax evasion is beyond their grasp, and understandably so.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because the UK might not be a global superpower in the way that it once was, but actually in many ways we're still a global financial superpower because of the roles of the City of London and British Overseas Territories in the financial system. So actually more than a quarter of all global tax evasion is facilitated by the UK and British Overseas Territories. So the UK could play an incredibly important role in cracking down on these issues that would then free up spending for essential things like health and education, both in the UK and in the poorest countries.
Sorry to interrupt you. How long would that take, do you think? Because what Reform are doing here, and you might just say it's populist politics, and I could understand why you might say that, but what Reform are saying, and I think it speaks to a big chunk of the electorate who want things to be sorted in this country, because they often hear politicians going, we need more money for this or for that, whatever. They're just going, right, if we're in power, it's quite simple. The next budget, we just cut foreign aid. It's a simple solution, but you can understand why people might support it, surely.
It's an immediate solution, and I understand why it's tempting because it is so immediate. But there are also things that the UK government could do immediately, like mandate the public registration of beneficial ownership details by British Overseas Territories that could come into immediate effect.
Right. Again, I'm going to interrupt you again. Hang on, not because I'm rude, but my listeners won't know what that means. So you're an excellent communicator. Strip that down in layman's terms, or layman person's terms, so they can understand how that would benefit people.
Absolutely. So I think most people agree that transparency is very important. You know, we all have to be transparent in filling in our various forms and making sure that we're paying our taxes. But internationally, lots of companies and extremely wealthy individuals aren't held to those same standards and don't have to be transparent. And British Overseas Territories facilitate this. They have a culture of secrecy that mean that wealth can be hidden there, and it's very difficult for governments to tax that wealth if they don't know who actually owns it. So bringing in a law that mandates transparency, for example, is something that could be done very quickly, and we could see the effects very quickly. And also, just to bring this back to my original point, while it may look like we're saving a few £billion in the short term by cutting aid, this is actually likely to cost the UK economy more in the longer term. You know, none of us benefit from living in a less safe, less stable global world or a global financial system.
OK, Maria, a final message to our listeners and viewers tonight who might be thinking, look, you know, Maria sounds like a really lovely person. She's answered these questions remarkably well. However, I see it in a really cut and dried way, which is I'm a UK taxpayer. The government takes my money by law. I want a greater say on what it's spent on, and I don't think I'm getting value for money in foreign aid. What would your response be?
Absolutely. I completely empathise with people's concerns, but I think we don't want to end up shooting ourselves in the foot. And the facts are that if we do step away from global obligations, if we do abandon things like aid spending, then we are looking at a less safe, less stable world with lower opportunities for growth, and ultimately that does mean further squeezes on people's living standards. So I think the practical economic common sense argument is incredibly strong here, but also, you know, it's Christmas and we're thinking about how we can be compassionate and show care for people less fortunate than us. And we know that the aid cuts that have already happened this year are predicted to lead to hundreds of thousands of additional deaths from diseases that could be prevented, and around 12 million people losing access to safe drinking water. So, you know, in the Christian spirit of Christmas, as speaking as someone who works for a Christian organisation, I would appeal to people's kind of moral sentiments as well.
Maria, may I wish you Merry Christmas and thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for joining us on Talk. That's Maria Finnerty, political economist and the lead economist at CAFOD, the Catholic Agency for Overseas Development. Now, you heard what she had to say and from where she's coming from. What say you? 0344 499 1000. There's some interesting stuff in that chat there. The idea that we shouldn't have to be pitting one point of view against another or prioritising where money is spent, I think we probably do, don't we? So how do you feel about that? Is it a case of charity starts at home? Or do you find yourself being a little bit warmer, maybe a little bit more compassionate and thinking, look, you know what, despite all of the economic challenges that exist in the UK today, and we have a relatively stagnant economy at the moment, we still have some money knocking around. And if it means that we can help kids in a different country develop better, have better health outcomes, a little bit of cash in that direction is no bad thing. 0344 499 1000 for your calls, your WhatsApp messages and your voice notes. You can text the word talk and your comments to 87222. Messages coming in. Who's this? Roy in Aberdeen says foreign aid is merely an instrument for taking money from poor people in rich countries and handing it to rich people in poor countries for the benefit of corrupt politicians. You may well have a view on that. Elsewhere, this is John in London. We should only give aid to countries that agree to take back foreign criminals and illegal immigrants, says John in London. And this one here says, a reference our guest, Maria, lost my support on lots of things, but mainly when she used climate change, which is nothing to do with the UK. It's due to the Earth's epileptic 2740. Have I got that right? Or was that a mistype? Every day of the year, and retrain them to process asylum applications. They'd sort it in a month. Is a message that's just come in on the text. 87222 is the text number. Start your message with the word talk. Call me. We'll talk about this as the show goes on. 0344 499 1000. WhatsApp me on that number and voice note me as well. Between now and 11, we're going to try and establish what it means to be working class. What are you? There's a report out today, or rather, there's a definition knocking around that if you're a train driver and you earn £80,000 a year, you are still defined by this government as working class. I don't know if that works. But up next, we're on a mission tonight here at Talk to save the Great British Pub. Stay tuned.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Duncan Barkes in for Petri Hoskin tonight here on Talk through until 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. We're on a mission, and I mean a serious mission tonight, to save the great British boozer. Pubs, I believe, are part of the fabric of our beautiful society, but at the moment they're massively under the cosh for all kinds of reasons. So tonight here on Talk, we're going to celebrate the great British pub, and wherever you might be listening as the show goes on, if you do have a local, then I want you to tell me about it. Let's just get a few mentions of great pubs right around the United Kingdom. 87222 is the text number. Start your message with the word Talk. You can WhatsApp, or you can send a voice note to 0344 499 1000. I mentioned earlier that I am a massive pub fan, not necessarily just for the, well, dare I say it, the boozing aspect. I mean, I do like a pint of ale, and I mean, now we're on the subject, I mean, you know, one of those proper pints from a cask, and a beer pump. I don't think we can use the word buxom anymore. I think it's been banned, but if it was to be a barmaid, are we allowed to use the term barmaid? A buxom barmaid. I was going to say with a grip. Firm grip on the pump, pouring a lovely pint of frothing ale, maybe something from the Shepherd Neame Brewery in Kent, or Theakston, I don't know. A proper pub. I'm lucky enough to live on the south coast, and where I live, I'm within literally 30 seconds of two things. I'm just giving you some context here, because it might explain my passion. There's a proper old-fashioned pub called the Eastgate in Chichester. It's owned by Fuller's. I love it. It's great. A load of people turn up there. Do you know, they do darts, right? And the beautiful thing about it is on a Sunday night, you can have 19 and 20-year-old guys in there. It is predominantly blokes playing darts alongside fellas in their 70s and 80s, right? That is different elements of society coming together. If it wasn't for the pub, that kind of thing would not be happening. I've also got a bar just over the road, which is one of these quite funky tap rooms. It's called the Little Monster Tap. It does a lot of craft beer. I have a love-hate relationship with craft beer, because I find some of it, you know, when it's like avocado flavoured, just a little bit peculiar, but it still has a place. So let's celebrate pubs tonight and the role they play. 87222 on the text. Start your message with the word Talk. Just give us the name of your boozer. You can also send messages to 0344 499 1000 as a voice note, or indeed a WhatsApp. Let's get some better understanding of the kind of challenges that pubs and bars and the hospitality sector in the UK are currently facing. Chris Gumbrell is Executive Chairman at Brew House and Kitchen, and he joins us. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Duncan.
Listen, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you on this Christmas week. Let's cut to the chase. I mean, you can argue that since the pandemic, it's been a really rough background and landscape for pubs to operate. From your perspective, just walk us through the last few years.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're spot on. I mean, it has been a real roller coaster for us. I think we saw lifestyle changes and habits starting to form pre the COVID period. But certainly during COVID, people did more at home. They settled in more at home. They changed their eating habits at home. They drank more at home. They made their living spaces far more comfortable. So it was naturally going to be a challenge for us. Although, when the restrictions were lifted, people couldn't wait to be back around and in amongst other people, particularly some of the wonderful products you've just been talking about, cask beer especially, which is so unique to our business. It's unique across the world in terms of how important it is for British pubs. But people couldn't wait for a pint of cask beer because it's something you cannot replicate at home, like many other things. But we've had so much to do with. We've had huge increases in our energy costs, huge increases in food and drink and all these other things. Plus, obviously, probably I would say the most pub unfriendly government I've seen in 38 years.
Let's talk about this in a bit more detail. So we've had two budgets, courtesy of the current Chancellor, Rachel Reeves. The budget, which was last year, she whacked up minimum wage, and some people I talk to go, I kind of get that. But from what I understand from talking to pub operators, one of the biggest blows was the increase in the amount of employers' national insurance, which means that when you're employing people, that costs more. So we had that on her, if you like, her first budget, and the one that we had last month, the minimum wage went up again. But also what we've seen is reform of business rates, where she proudly stood behind the dispatch box and said it's going to be great for pubs, and then it appears a whopping amount of pubs are now just going, no, I'm going to have to pay more.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think what both budgets expose is the utter lack of business experience that we've got within government. Forget pubs for a second, because this is, if you take national insurance, which was hugely damaging, not just for businesses that were trying to pay it. I mean, they overlooked the fact that hospices were going to be paying this, that charities were going to have to pay this. So we're not on our own. I mean, it shows this, and then they scurry around after the budget and try and fix things, and we're seeing this kind of behaviour again. Good news for the farmers today, but that also helps our sector as well because of these wonderful family brewers, of which you've named as well, who will benefit, we hope, from today's backpedaling from the Prime Minister. But, the national insurance for me, I mean, it's just classic cognitive dissonance. You talk about problems with youth unemployment and you just make it more expensive for us to employ people. Yeah. We are really good at bringing young people into the workplace. We are quite often everybody's first job. It was my first job. I was sticking up Skittles and then collecting glasses a long time ago when I was 10 or 11 years old. I grew up in a working men's club in South Wales, so I'm really, really proud of that background. And we give people so many skills that quite often they don't get at home, in terms of discipline and punctuality and politeness and courtesy and attentiveness and empathy and teamwork, all these things that we give young people, and they're just making it harder and harder and harder for us to engage. And I, like you, I don't mind minimum wage. We can generally take a minimum wage, we can push it into a price increase, the customer gets it, they want to work with us as well, they want us to survive, and they also like our staff. You mentioned it yourself, that fondness that you have for that person serving you that wonderful pint of beer. So we're not against supporting our people, but it's got to be realistic. But the national insurance piece for us was highly damaging. And the business rates this year, again, we were promised a level playing field. We were promised that we wouldn't be worse off. And we've got thousands and thousands of pubs who in cash terms are going to be paying far more than they ever have before. And a lot of pubs for the first time will be moving out of the relief system where they've stayed outside of the band of business rates, and they'll be paying business rates for the first time. And these are mom and pop operations in villages that are hanging on by a thread already. It's not easy. Beef has gone up 30% this year. If we like a steak or a burger in our business, this is what we cope with.
Staggering figures. I mean, you mentioned a few moments ago the government's U-turn on farmers' inheritance tax. So you never know, there might be some kind of U-turn by the government regarding the costs that they've placed on the hospitality sector. How far do you go, or do you want to go yourself in pressuring the government? Because the Sun newspaper have backed a campaign to ban Labour MPs from their local pubs. I mean, we know that Jeremy Clarkson has banned Labour MPs from what's it called, the Farmer's Dog, his well-known pub and stuff.
Yeah.
Is that the way to do it? Do you think this is a fair and right tactic to go? Well, do you know what? You voted for this. You can't come in here and have a pint.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I'm part of a hospitality group in the Bournemouth area,
right? And
it started there. In fact, it started in the Larder House, which is 100 metres from one of my pubs in Southbourne. Yeah. Now, my position is that I'm very protective of pubs, and I don't like the way pubs are politicised sometimes. They got politicised in Brexit, and I think pubs need to be neutral spaces where we can all talk, we can all air our grievances. But I think it's been handled particularly badly down here by the MP involved, and I think it's important now for us to reach out, keep talking to MPs, but I'm, as far as I'm concerned, right now my businesses are open to MPs, but they've got to be prepared to come in and talk to us. Yeah. And they've got to also put their face into the wind with the problems that we have, not give us the standard straplines that come from Party Central around the support package of 4.3 billion quid, which is predominantly transitional relief, which is a mechanism that's existed in business rates for 30 years. I should be thanking John Major for that, not Keir Starmer. But this is being paraded around, and sometimes you wonder how. Do they think we're that stupid sometimes?
Well, just related to that, what does my head in, and you see it on the run-up to most general elections, is all of a sudden MPs pop up behind the bar of their local pub, pouring a pint of beer, and it makes, the Preston Gazette on page 7, and that's not to diss local newspapers, which I'm a big fan of, but it's like they're very keen to have their photos taken in a pub when it matters to them, but actually behind the scenes, I think a lot of MPs really don't understand pub life and really do not understand the part the pub
so spot on
in communities.
That's so spot on. That's so spot on, Duncan. The standard strap line, and I've heard this for the full 38 years I've worked professionally in this business, is pubs are important for the community. Pubs are important for dealing with loneliness. Pubs are important for mental health. They bring communities together. They create local hubs. They get people out of the house. They get people talking. You get all this drivel, to be honest, which we know is true because we work in that business,
Yeah.
and then they shaft you, to be perfectly blunt.
Yeah.
And you get just completely misled. You think, oh God, these guys are listening and they're going to help us and they're going to support us this time. And every single politician will say that from every single party, and they never put their money where their mouth is with us. It's like what kind of relationship is it when people tell you that they love you and they think you're really important and then just absolutely turn you over?
Yeah, I know.
And this is what it feels all the time. We are just there as this cow that can be kept milking. Then we pay billions of pounds into the treasury, and then they drop a penny off a pint.
I know.
Beef has gone at 30%. Penny off a pint is meaningless.
It's meaningless, and it just makes a headline, and it's actually quite patronising.
We're helping pubs.
To people like you and the electorate. Chris, keep up the good work, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it. That's Chris Gumbrell, Executive Chairman at Brewhouse and Kitchen. So we're on a mission tonight, and you can tell I'm a little bit invested in this, because I do like a pub. Let's save the Great British Boozer. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by getting you to tell me and us tonight here at Talk what the Great British Pub means to you. But also, if you have a local pub that you go to, maybe even that you run, or you want to support in some way, let us know tonight. We can share it with the rest of the United Kingdom. All you need to do is text 87222 as the text number. Start your message with the word Talk. You want to come on the air, have a chinwag about it, we can do that as well. 0344 499 1000 is a number for your calls. That's also the same number for voice notes. Send a voice note, we'll play it out, and also for your WhatsApp messages as well. I talked about where I live earlier, a place on the south coast, Chichester in West Sussex. You've got the Eastgate pub, you've got the Little Monster Tap. I've worked in various places around the United Kingdom over the years, and you know, there's some great pubs knocking around. There's a great one in Exmouth, in Devon, called the Bicton Inn. And it's kind of like, it's up a little road, and they do live music, but it tends to be acoustic stuff. And they had, last time I was in there, admittedly a couple of years ago, because I don't work in that part of the country at the moment, right? They have 8 beer pumps. Count them, 8 beer pumps. So let's celebrate pubs around the United Kingdom. 87222 on the text. Start your message with the word Talk. Get involved. 0344 499 1000. I think we need to talk to a pub landlady, don't you? Let's talk to a pub landlady. Let's go to Essex and the landlady at the Rayleigh Arms in Chelmsford. We'll talk to her next here at Talk.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very keen to talk about pubs tonight. We've done the political side of pubs, so now let's celebrate the great British boozer. If you're listening at the moment and you're a landlady or a landlord, and let's be blunt, you want a bit of free publicity for your boozer, particularly on this Christmas week, let's get you on the air. Tell us about your pub. You see, I have this theory that people who don't like pubs, we'll put to one side that there's a generation coming through, which is Generation Z. And I mentioned them earlier. What is Gen Z? They're people born between, 1997 and something else, 2012. Okay, and they don't, look at me, right? I'm a guy in my mid-50s. I say to people, should go down the pub, because that's something I've always done. But I accept there's a generation coming through that's an alien concept, and understandably so. Attitudes change. All right? I'm old enough, and this is going to sound terrible, to remember, don't judge me, when you could go to the pub at lunchtime in the workplace. Can you imagine that now? HR would be on your case like a rocket. I remember on a Friday, working somewhere, we would go to the pub on a Friday lunchtime, and you'd have a sandwich, you'd have a bowl of chips, and you might have a couple of pints. And if it was someone's leaving do, or they were leaving that Friday, you might have a third pint. You couldn't do that now. So I accept generations change, and I accept that there will be people who just think, I'm not going to go to the pub, because possibly not only do they not want to drink, but also they find it too expensive. And that gets us back to all kinds of things. There are pressures on pubs. But let's focus on the positive of the pub and the role they play, because I do think there are far too many people who just think it's all about beer. And I take the view that a pub, particularly in a very small town or even a village, really is the centre of a community. They are so important, really important. I mentioned earlier about one of my local pubs where they do darts on a Sunday, and the young guys rubbing shoulders with the old guys, and they're playing darts, and it's a great thing to watch. Pubs are a great venue for local bands. More than often, those local bands are quite young. There might be cover bands or whatever, but pubs in a community can give space to bands to perform. That can only be a good thing, right? A really good thing. And also, pubs raise a lot of money for local charities. I've seen it myself. So let's celebrate the pub over the next couple of hours. I'm on a little bit of a mission to save the great British boozer, and we do that by being positive, and we do that by saying, this is so-and-so, they messaged me, this is about their pub. 87222 on the text, start your message with the word talk, 0344 499 1000. A quick message here. Lucy in Blackburn says, what do pubs mean to me? A place to connect with people, even if it's just the person you've gone with. And as someone with social anxiety, the free-flowing booze makes that a bit easier for me. Went to a new local pub at the weekend. Customers are all friendly and chatting to each other. Not sure if it was the Christmas spirit, but it was lovely. The pub in question is the Holly Tree Tap in Blackburn. You see, I need more messages like that to celebrate the great British boozer. This is Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Duncan Barkes. It's Talk on this Tuesday night. Just a reminder, after midnight, we take your calls in our Talk Back hour. We'll get you on the air, 0344 499 1000. It's the original social media. Give us a call. We'll have a chat after midnight. A few things we're kicking around on the show so far. Talking about foreign aid, Reform UK has said if they got into government, they would slash the aid budget by 90% and cap it at a billion pounds a year. We talked about Reform UK on last night's show. I'm keen to use this as a hook to talk about foreign aid as a concept. Do you think it's good that we give foreign aid to countries around the world? How far should we go? There's an argument to say it's a form of soft power. We can influence other countries. That's got to be a good thing, right? And also there's the very valid point, which is we are still in the top 10 richest nations on the planet. So we do have some money. Where do you stand on foreign aid? We'll get into that after midnight with your calls, 0344 499 1000. We're talking about the Great British Pub. Does it matter to you? We know they're under the cosh. We've done the political side of that. Now we want to talk about the positive side. If you have a local boozer, if you run a local pub or whatever, let's get you on the air after midnight. And also, we're going to talk about what it means to be working class. And we'll get a view on this in a second. But just to give you the heads up, after 11 o'clock, the fabulous Claire Muldoon will be in the studio and we'll be going through the front pages of Wednesday morning's newspapers. There's quite there's one major story dominating it about the farmers and the government's U-turn on inheritance tax. There'll be some other stories as well. So Claire Muldoon here after 11 going through the front pages of Wednesday's newspapers. But let's talk about what it means to be working class. I don't know what that means. All right, I'll be honest with you. I'm an honest broadcaster. Sometimes I can come on and just go, this is what I think about this and this is what you should think about it. Other times I'm quite happy to put my hands up and just go, I don't know the answer to this question. And why I want to talk about it tonight is I came across this article which is a little bit complex, so I'll do my best to explain it. The children of train drivers who earn £80,000 a year, which I think it's fair to say is a good whack by anyone's standards. I've never earned that on a yearly basis. Has anyone else? No. The children of train drivers who earn 80 grand a year are able to benefit from social mobility schemes because the job is considered to be working class. That's driving a train. But police officers, people who work in prisons, earning half the salary, so 40 grand a year, are not considered to be working class. And I found this genuinely fascinating, and I thought we'd talk about it tonight, because is it about what you do to earn the money, or is it about the amount of money you earn? 0344 499 1000. And here is the question. What or how would you define yourself as working class? And do we really still have a class system in this country? Because I've got loads of stuff scribbled down here, you know, middle class, lower to middle class. I don't even know what lower to middle class means. Do you? Anyone? Any ideas? Lower to middle class? Working class. Upper class. I mean, what is upper class? Is that shopping at Waitrose? Or in the north of England, is it Booths? Which is supposed to be the north of England's version of Waitrose. Very nice pies, by the way. Or, if you're upper class, that means you get everything sent in a van, courtesy of Fortnum's. I don't know the answer to these questions. You might. Let's break this down. Ashok Kumar is Associate Professor of Political Economy at Birkbeck University, and he joins us. Hello.
Hi, Duncan.
Appreciate your time tonight on this Christmas week. Thank you, Ashok. So you heard some might say ramble, others might say very insightful analysis there. Let's get it from someone who knows a thing or two about this. When we try and define what is working class, what do we need to consider?
Well, obviously, it depends on the context. I'm American, but I work in Britain. I've lived here for a long time. And for anyone who's not British, like myself, it can be very confusing because obviously, in most contexts, you have people who own property, they extract rents, they are the proprietors of capitalism, you could say. Right. And those people are people who earn their living off of other people's labor. That's typically how that's defined. And then there's people who regardless of how much they earn their own wages and their own subsistence. So by that definition, it's not that there isn't obviously shades of gray. If someone's a Deliveroo driver versus someone who's a tube driver, obviously have different levels of security. But the question then becomes, are you a proprietor of capital? Do you make your money off of other people's labor? That means you're not working class. Or are you working class in a way that that you earn your own labor, your own wages and earnings? The reason why that's an important definition is because then we don't fall into this kind of murky territory of culturalist politics. So, for example, you gave the example of Waitrose and Boots. It's like, okay, so you shop in Waitrose, but you are a renter. Instead, you shop at Iceland, but you own a bunch of property. Who's working class? Well, obviously, the person who shops at Waitrose, who's the renter, because it's about their position in society. If they stop working, they won't be able to subsist. Whereas if someone who earns their living off of other people's labor can stop working for a significant amount of time and could still live just fine, typically.
Right, so breaking it down, and I'm not always the sharpest tool in the box here, Ashok, so bear with me and I welcome your patience. Is it too simple to say that you can class yourself as working class if you're a master of a trade, so if you're providing your labour for something? So someone who's a builder, is that working class?
Of course, it's a working class. I mean, you could use the tube drivers as an example.
Okay.
Until 1993, until the tubes were privatized, they were the lowest paid on the. I mean, they were making less than £10,000 on average. It's only after privatization happens and private rail operators weren't willing to pay for the year-long time it takes to train them up. It takes a year for them to train up, that their wages were going higher. They also had strong unions and collective bargaining. So I think it's like, well, were they working class then and not working class now? And then the question then becomes, what is it? In this country, I see politicians, Wes Streeting, Angela Rayner, on, six-figure salaries if you look at all the benefits they get, and they control the levers of society, still being like, I'm working class. It's very confusing for an American or for anyone who's not from this country, being like, how in the world are you working class? You may have come from a working class background, but people treat working class identity here as this fixed identity. And it's not an identity, it's a relation. That's the distinction.
Okay, you mentioned some of the UK politicians, someone who I think is, and I'm choosing my words to be respectful as possible, which is quite rare for me, someone who occasionally, it might be suggested, plays on her working class roots for political gain is Angela Rayner, who up until recently was Deputy Prime Minister. We all know she had to resign because she got a bit confused over stamp duty. An MP salary comes in at just under £100,000 a year in this country. That's before you get into the allowances, etc. How would we define Angela Rayner?
Well, I think it becomes very difficult. These aren't clear-cut decisions, but the issue is really a question of power. I mean, that's where it becomes a very clear distinction. So a much clearer example of this, I think, and not to detract from this, but is someone like Alan Sugar.
Okay.
Alan Sugar is someone who's a multi-billionaire, who has all the affect and the aesthetics of someone who's working class, who comes from that background, and still plays on the fact that I'm working class. And lots of people in this country would say, yeah, he's a working class guy. But some person who went with a university degree who cycles and eats avocados, but is a renter and is basically barely has any, is drowning in debt, would be seen as middle class. So it is confusing when we get into the cultural territory.
Yeah.
So I think we have to look at the substance of it. Angela Rayner controls the levers of lots of power in this country. She earns a lot of money. She has control over her means of subsistence. There's no real bosses she has. I mean, technically, we are her bosses, but we don't have that much control in the current electoral system. So she's not working class. It's very clear. I think we can use our discerning eye to make that distinction.
It's really interesting, Lord Alan Sugar, and I'm glad you mentioned him. Do you think, and I'm only asking this question because you mentioned him and it sparked a thought in my head, do you think there are people who maybe overemphasise their working class roots because, to be blunt, they've earned so much money, they're multi-millionaires, but maybe there's a little bit of guilt going on there, so they almost over-echo their working class background, or am I being too cynical?
Well, I'll be even more cynical. I think it's not, I wish it was guilt. I don't think it's actually guilt. I think there is a political, let's just say, political capital to be generated. And you don't see that just with class. You see that with all kinds of identities where people will sort of ham it up a bit in order to be a bit of a character and you know, if he's just another middle class guy who grew up in an elite background and went to Oxbridge and then is a millionaire or billionaire, that doesn't make for good TV. That doesn't make for good sort of, I don't know, showmanship.
Yeah.
But there is something to be earned from saying, okay, I'm this character, I come from this back. And that's what I think is even more cynical about it. I think it's fine. I mean, he does what he does. But what I find more, I guess, insidious about it is when that analysis of class becomes more generalized.
And a final thought here. Do you think as a country we are less obsessed or more obsessed with class? I was talking to Gabby, who produces this show, and she was saying in Italy that the idea of working class, middle class and upper class, those kind of labels don't really exist in the way they do in Britain. Are we just too obsessed with this stuff?
I think we're not obsessed with class enough in the right way.
Okay.
So I think it's, you know, there's this phrase from the Occupy movement in 2011 that says, we are the 99%. And of course, that's a kind of vulgar, reductive notion of class. But I think if people really started treating class as the people who own everything and the people who work for the people that own everything, then we can have a more clear analysis of who has power, how do we share wealth more, how do we become a more distributive society, rather than this sort of, oh, well, it's, you know, there's this phrase, I live in East London, they say gentrifier. It's like, well, it does gentrification or the dispossession of working class people from historically working class neighborhoods doesn't happen because middle class people moved in. It happens because large property developers buy up huge tracts of land and raise rents. So it's misidentifying the issue. And by misidentifying the issue, we find the wrong scapegoats. And I'm not saying blame the rich. I'm saying what we need to do is talk about structural inequality, and that's not going to happen if we keep finding categories. Oh, this person's middle class. What makes them middle class? Because of their accent? Because the way they, I mean, what is it? Because where they shop? Yeah. It seems such a superficial understanding of class. We need to talk about class more, but we need to talk about it in the real way, tied to the economy, tied to who runs society, not to where you shop and the clothes you wear.
It's been a fascinating conversation. Ashok, thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for joining us on Talk. That's Ashok Kumar, Associate Professor of Political Economy at Birkbeck University. So much stuff in there to unpack. You see, some people say to me, you're posh. And I go, why am I posh? And they go, well, you talk in a certain way. And this is just, I mean, this is how I've always talked. I went to a comprehensive school, right? And there's a presumption that just, I think, in society, if you sound a certain way, maybe you've gone to some public school or whatever. Let's talk about this as the show continues, particularly after midnight. What is working class? And have you ever been judged incorrectly, or maybe in a negative way, as a result of how you speak? Or possibly even where you shop? And I'm happy to put my hand up and say, you know, Aldi, I love some of the stuff that Aldi do, so let's not buttonhole people. 0344 499 1000. What does it mean to be working class? We're celebrating the Great British Pub as well, and also how important is foreign aid. But after 11, a look at the newspapers for a Wednesday morning. I'll be joined in the studio by broadcaster Claire Muldoon. Do not go anywhere. This is Talk.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything. And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants, and as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Late Tuesday night. It is Tuesday. I keep having to check. You know what it's like in that kind of festive week. It just all blurs into one. I'm Duncan Barkes, in for Petri Hoskin. This is Talk. Good to have you along. You want to get involved, particularly after midnight. 0344 499 1000 for your calls. So I keep saying it's the original social media. We can have a chinwag. Do you remember those days when people actually talked to each other? You can send a voice note to that number, and you can WhatsApp your thoughts to that number as well. And the text is 87222. Start your message with the word talk. We're about to go through the front pages of Wednesday's newspapers with broadcaster Claire Muldoon. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
How's this week panning out for you?
It's panning out almost the same way as that you've mentioned earlier. I just don't know from one day to the next what day of the week it actually is. I've got all the children home now. All 4 of them have returned.
Blimey, how old are the kids?
Well, you say kids. My youngest is 21.
They're always still kids, though, aren't they?
Anna's 23, Steph's 26, and Caitlin, she'll be 28 in February, and she's the one that's engaged to be married. So it's lovely. It's full of festivities in the house, full of Christmas sweaters, Christmas pyjamas. Loads of cocktails, loads of booze, loads of fizz. So that's the way we roll.
I get the sense you feel at one with this time of year.
I am this time of year.
Are you Mrs. Christmas?
I am, yeah. And don't forget, though, yesterday we were told that Father Christmas was too white, and it was, and he wasn't to put people on the naughty step.
That's true.
Well, Duncan, thank your lucky stars, it's not me, because everyone would be on the naughty step every single day, and they wouldn't get off it.
Well, we'll get to maybe some of the people in the front page of the newspapers who you might put on the naughty step. But before we crack on with Wednesday's front pages, let's just get your thoughts on a couple of things we're chewing over tonight. I'm on a mission tonight.
What's your mission?
Well, I've got 2 missions.
Is it Mission Impossible?
It might be.
Tom Cruise?
He's very small, isn't he?
What, Tom Cruise?
Yeah. I've got 2 missions. They might be impossible. One is to try and save the Great British Pub.
Wonderful mission.
All right? Now, the Great British Pub, as we know, has been under the cosh recently for all kinds of reasons. A couple of budgets that haven't done them any favours. So we're celebrating the Great British Pub tonight. We also have a Sun-backed campaign where Labour MPs are being banned from their local pubs. Have you heard about that?
Oh, yeah, I have.
Yeah? Do you think that's fair?
I'm not a fan of cancel culture at all, right?
But.
And no, to be fair, I don't think it's right to ban anyone at all. I mean, I would put Rachel Reeves into room 101. I mean, if there was a pub,
as well
room
as the
101,
naughty
I would put her. No, she is the naughty step.
Right.
So. No, I'm not a fan of that idea, but I do love a pub.
Yeah.
I think they're fantastic.
All right,
places.
let's have some pub love. What do you love most about the pub?
I love the fact that it's a mixture of young and old. The demographic is, whatever you want it to be. You can go to a pub that will cater to your demographic. The local ones near me cater for everybody.
Right.
The Roaring Log Fire. If you want to bring your dog, you can. I would rather you didn't. But
well, hang on. Why don't you like dogs in pubs?
Because if you open up a packet of crisps or pork scratchings, they're
yeah, I know, but I'd rather have dogs in pubs than children.
Well, I don't want children in pubs either.
Right, okay.
It's not a place for them. And I would bring back smoking inside.
Would you?
Yes.
You see, that is interesting, because I think if you go back in time, you can make the argument that one of the things that really gave the pub industry a kicking was the Tony Blair smoking ban. And I often found myself...
Tony Blair.
Yeah, quite. And I just found myself thinking, I never really understood it, because actually what you should do is just say, let's say you've got a village, right? Yeah. And in that village you have two pubs, and you could just go, well, this pub is a smoker's pub, and this one isn't. And it's a phrase that some people don't like, but you let the market decide, right? Let the punters decide where they want to drink. What would be so wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And don't forget, I'm from Glasgow, so we spit and sawdust in some of the floors in the pubs that we had.
Yeah.
But, you know, no, I love them, and I think they're great in the summer, in the winter. And they can often be a hub of the community. Yeah. You know, they are trying to diversify now because it's extremely expensive for pubs to run live sports. Yeah. So they would host quiz nights, or they would start to introduce pub snacks, pub grub. You know? Yeah. And, you know, it's so sad that they have to diversify in order to get punters in. And Gen Zs actually queue up now.
Oh no! Well, we talked about Gen Zs earlier because there's a mob of Gen Z who work here at Talk.
And my daughter's one of them.
And they go to the pub, not drinking anything alcoholic. Well, I don't know about your daughter, but...
Well, no, actually, Steph, she's one of the... I don't know why she's my daughter. She doesn't actually drink. Well, she does a bit, but... no, I mean, I think it's really, really strange, this whole culture. A lot of them don't, you're right. Yeah. And I don't know why they queue instead of, like, going up the bar. Do you remember back in the day you would have to catch the eye?
You would.
Or, you know,
you just wave a crisp £10 note.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
they used to work.
Yeah. All the time.
It's really interesting. You're right about pubs diversifying. When I worked in Liverpool, I know we're going off on a tangent for a bit, but we are celebrating pubs. Yeah. There was a pub, I think it was called the Baltic Fleet. I think that's what it was called. If I got it wrong, someone will let me know.
Say it in a Scouse accent, I dare you.
Do you know the best way to work on your Scouse accent? It's the word chicken. Chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah, and then you build it up from there. Chicken. I think it was the Baltic Fleet, and they used to have it on Monday night, and I went down there because I was working as a journalist. They had this event called Bitch and Stitch.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, it was just gorgeous. I turned up there. It was predominantly women, not exclusively.
Yeah, were they knitting or stitching?
All knitting.
Yeah, brilliant.
Had a pint and predominantly moaning about men.
Do you know, that's the original podcast.
Is it?
That really is, without it being broadcast.
Yeah.
What stays in the bitch remains in the bitch.
Fantastic. Tell me, before we move on to something else, I just want to get your views on, and we will crack on with the newspapers. Tell me about, you talked about Glasgow, the best pub in Glasgow.
Oh gosh, within a country mile, you've got the Horseshoe Bar in Glasgow, which
That's
is
infamous.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it's shaped like a horseshoe.
Funny.
The actual bar.
Yeah.
God, there were so many that, from growing up, they were just brilliant. The Athol Arms, behind Sucky Hall Street.
Right. Hang on, Sucky Hall Street?
Yeah, behind Sucky Hall Street.
Right. Is that a proper name or is that a nickname?
What, Sucky Hall Street?
Yeah.
No, it's a proper name.
Okay.
I'll tell you something. I'll maybe tell you it in the break, but it was really, really funny. I was in Brentford today, and there was a sign that said, my effing avenue, and say it in a Glaswegian accent, and you've got it.
I can hear it. I can hear it.
Yeah.
And you're in which part of London are you from?
Chiswick.
Chiswick. So what's your local Chiswick boozer?
George and Devonshire at the Hogarth Roundabout.
And I know that.
It's
never
fantastic.
been in it. Is it good?
It's brilliant.
Right.
It's really, really brilliant.
Yeah. All right. We've done our bit for pubs. You want to suggest a pub that you want to fly the flag for any boozers? Get in contact tonight. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Now, one of the things we're also chewing over is this story about what it means to be working class.
£80,000.
If you're a train driver, 80 grand a year, you're classed as working class. What's your definition of working class?
I personally don't have one because I don't think that believing in a class system is very good. I prefer people to, you know, well, we're in this age of they can identify whatever they want to identify. Was it really?
Yeah.
You can, mind you, in saying that, you can spot a Gen Z anywhere because they're the ones with the oat milk latte and the Avo on toast. So that's easy to identify there. But 80 grand a year, and that's not just 80 grand a year, that's 80 grand a year plus the pension, plus the, 3.5, 4 day week, plus free travel for everyone that lives in the house with you. It's a huge package.
It's a great package.
It's a huge package.
Yeah. So, but is being working class, is it purely then about the money you earn, or is there something else?
I don't know. No. And I refuse absolutely refuse to be drawn into any class system. It's not fair, it's not just. You know, ultimately, we all, you know, have the same ablutions and do it the same way. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And we're all going to die.
Yes.
You know, so there's great parity amongst us, really. So, and that's not, I'm not a militant communist or anything like that, but I do think that everyone should be equal. And, you know, if you want to be a hyacinth bouquet and think, you know, you're we used to say better than you are. By all means.
Crack on.
Crack on.
Crack on.
80 grand a year, you can crack on with a huge, a diamond encrusted whip.
You can. We should crack on with the front pages of Wednesday's newspapers. What's caught your eye?
Well, they're basically full of inappropriate friends that an A from Balmoral wanted Ghislaine Maxwell to find. Find me some friends. Also in the Times, farmers' wind tax climbed down, which is really unfortunate for families who have lost members of their family by suicide because of this. Part of me thinks, thank God, the government are actually finally listening to something. From April 2026, I think they're raising the threshold from 1 million to, what is it, 2.5 or 5? Yeah, so that's quite a big thing. And I was never a supporter of what Labour did to the farmers. I thought it was just wrong, because a lot of farmers don't own the land. They're tenant farmers. And a lot of farmers then, you know, we need them to feed us, you know, we need them to, you know, deliver the milk for us. We need them to, you know, do things for us. And they work so hard, Duncan.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think part of this debate, and it's always been the position I've taken, is that it's about food security. Right?
We're an island.
We're an island, and you don't have to go too far back in history, less than 100 years, to know what it was like when actually, you know, we just about managed to feed ourselves, but we went through rationing as a nation, right? And any island, and I don't think this is a particularly controversial view, but any island should be self-sufficient when it comes to feeding itself.
Well, yes, absolutely we should be. With the amount of arable land, with the amount of livestock land, with the amount of livestock we have, the amount of people we have now to feed on this island. And, you know, I think we should go back to eating seasonally. I mean, you can have polytunnel out your ears as much as you want, but polytunnels are all over Europe and Turkey as well. And, you know, so they're huge. And I would far rather we were more self-sufficient than not, because we don't know what on earth's going to happen in the future with you know, with our domestic security, really. And farmers work so hard. They work often in excess of 70 to 80 hours. You don't see them striking, do you? You don't see them waving their flags or waving their oat milk lattes.
No,
saying,
but they do turn up in Whitehall with their tractors, and rightly so. And rightly so. And it is. You make another good point there as well, because I don't think many people really understand what it's like to work as a farmer or be in a farming family. I have a teeny weeny bit of insight, because when I was a teenager, I was a young farmer. Judge me as you will. And you know, I used to socialise with these people, and I used to.
Did you have a shuffle?
What do you mean, a shuffle?
Did you wear a shuffle?
What's a shuffle?
That brand of gilet and the fleece.
I don't think it had been invented there.
Right, okay.
But I did indulge in some quite underage drinking in some very good country pubs, but that's a conversation for a different time.
Oh, that's bound to pubs again. That's great. It was part of your culture.
The point I was going to make is there's no holidays for farmers, right? But you can't just go, I'm going to go to Tenerife for a couple of weeks, because there's no one there to feed the animals or milk the cows. It just doesn't work. I don't think people understand that. And I think there's a massive disconnect now between what people find on their supermarket shelves and actually where it comes from.
I know.
They don't get it.
Absolutely. And you know, we heard yesterday, or today's news as well, that the Labour government now want to, you know, ban the cooking of live lobsters. No, but Duncan, I want to make a very serious point on this, actually. So they want to ban that.
And crabs.
And crabs, right? Yesterday, there was talk of them banning trial hunting.
Yes.
Right? And yet, this is the same government that's delivering assisted dying and abortion up to birth on demand that's mooted in Scotland. I mean, I've made a joke in previous shows to say that I think, you know, animals are treated far better in this country than human beings.
Let's explore that. What do you think then is driving those policy announcements or that decision making?
It's the rise in the Green Party and Zach Polanski. That's what it is.
Really putting pressure on Labour.
It's the outreach to the demographic now that's increasing within voting, or the propensity of voting for the Green Party is in young girls.
Yeah.
You know, aged between 17 to 25.
Well, I think I read
that bracket.
I think there was a poll out saying that it was the majority of 16 to 24-year-olds, because of course we are supposed to be getting votes for 16-year-olds. So that has gone suspiciously quiet. Maybe because of the rise of the Green Party.
Gerrymongering.
Yeah. 16 to 24-year-olds, the majority of them, if they, you know, at the next election, said they would vote Green. Yeah. So you think it's a direct response to the threat of Zach Polanski and his chums?
Absolutely. Right. I mean, the guy is an awesome communicator.
He's the Farage of the left.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
He really is. Farage is Reform Blue. He's Green.
Yeah.
You know, literally and metaphorically. And that's a danger.
I saw an interview with him on a podcast, which I won't mention because it's a podcast I don't really like, but it came up on my social media feed, and someone was asking him if he knew what debt interest was.
Yeah.
And he had no concept of what debt interest was. So for people listening and watching talk tonight, you know, we currently pay over 100 billion quid a year to service our debt, right? The amount of money we owe people around the world, to various countries around the world, and he had no concept of it.
Yeah.
He just said, "Oh, we can write it off."
Yeah.
It's like, what world do you live in?
Well, you can't bankrupt your country.
Well, Zach can.
Zach can, you know, hypnotise ladies' boobs to become bigger to enhance them.
That's what he used to do, apparently. Yeah. OK, so going back to the farmers' story, what I'm interested in is, I mean, you talk about the Times, farmers' win tax climbed down, the inheritance levy, the threshold has been raised from £1 million to £2.5 million. Good news for farmers. The NFU, for example, tonight are just saying it needs to go further to support our farmers. But here's the thing I'm interested in. This Labour government has done a number of U-turns since it's been in government.
Flip-flop here.
Yeah. Now, we often talk about U-turns and flip-flopping.
Pivoting.
Pivoting's a good word, in a negative way. Is there any conversation to be had that actually, in some cases, we should welcome a U-turn because pressure has been brought to bear on people and things have changed? I
think, well, obviously, yes. But politically, I think that a dash of humility would show that in order to pivot, in order to change, you know, there's two ways. One, they've dumbed down and they just think, oh my goodness me, this has just gone so far that we need to regain some of the political nous that we have from the landslide victory that we had.
I know, massive whopping majority.
Massive whopping majority. And we're going to give the people what they want. We've actually listened. I don't think they listen.
No.
Morgan McSweeney got Keir elected with all the comms available. He put him in power, but he didn't manage to, when he's in power, to manage the power, has he?
No, he hasn't.
And no one has.
No. And I mean, without being, I mean, some people have got in contact tonight, and I've just talked about, you know, it's always Labour bashing. But I mean, I think this is the worst government I have known in my lifetime. And we've had some shockers, right? But, you know, and I'd include Liz Truss and Boris Johnson under that, all right? So that's not a political point. I think it's damaged our UK political system.
Oh, it has completely.
So, you know, Labour have had a shocker in their first 18 months of government. And it's just genuinely, I can't get my head around how someone can get into Parliament with such a big majority and then frankly cock it up.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. I really don't.
And I also think this U-turn here has got nothing to do with listening. I think, you know, Morgan McSweeney, so he's Chief of Staff, isn't he, at Downing Street? I think, you know, the guy who got Starmer into Downing Street, I think they've looked at the polls. Reform, all right, have gone down a little bit in one of the latest polls, but they're still miles ahead of the Labour Party. The Tories have gone up. And I mean, we've had, to be fair, both Reform...
But that was one poll.
It's one poll, and some of us, you know, in order to create some interesting conversation on the radio, seized on it to talk about it. But the Tories in one poll have gone up. And I just thought, you know, Reform, to be fair, have backed the farmers. Tories have backed the farmers in this, and you know Labour thought, oh, actually, do you know what? Let's do a U-turn because it might stem the damage.
They did that with the scrapping of the two-child benefit cap as well, and that was only after Farage said that Reform would do it. Reform have now reneged on that if they were in power. So yeah, I doubt that it is them listening. to the electorate, the proletariat I was going to use there, because they seem to think everyone is working people. So who knows?
Who knows? All right, more from Wednesday's front pages in a few moments' time. Claire Muldoon, broadcaster, is alongside me, and you're watching Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Late Tuesday night, I'm Duncan Barkes. This is Talk. Alongside me is broadcaster Claire Muldoon as we pick over the front pages of Wednesday's newspapers. We've done the U-turn on farmers' inheritance tax. What else have you spotted?
Right, in absolutely most of them, including the FT and the Mirror, Star, Express, it's all A from Balmoral. Can you find me some inappropriate friends?
Yeah.
Ghislaine Maxwell has had received emails back in the day from an A of from Balmoral, as I said, looking for, you know, seedy antics, and you know, this is just, I mean, it's just disgusting. And I don't think that I'm sorry, but I don't think the royal family were. I don't think they were not in full knowledge of Andrew's behaviour. But something occurred to me the other day, actually. Everyone seems to be completely focused on Epstein and Epstein files. Yeah. And Hugh Hefner in the Playboy Mansion has completely gone away, gone adrift. Yeah. And you've got women like Bonnie Blue, whatever her name is, or so they're selling sex, right? And that's, I'm not suggesting
just
Andrew
for people,
paid for it.
Sorry to interrupt you, just for people who are listening and watching who might be unaware of Bonnie Blue and her bang bus. Yeah. How would you describe her?
A very shallow and hollow and very poor soul is how I would describe her. Others might say she is the epitome of feminism in that she's doing whatever is right for her, and she's, you know, doing, you know, providing a service. I think it's disgusting. I think it lowers the tone of being a woman. She's more than just a reciprocal, and it's just not right. And she's actually been banned now from Bali or Indonesia for 10 years.
I didn't know
because
that.
she pulled this bang bus up to whatever. But that,
and just so people are clear, this is a woman who well, they'd used the term slept, but had sex with, how many men was it in 24 hours? I can't remember. Vast
too
amount.
many.
Too many.
Too many.
Yeah.
But equally, the boys or the men involved are equally as stupid as she is. Yeah. You know, for going along with it. Yeah. I mean, what do you get out of that? It's faceless, it's shallow, it's not, you know, there's no emotional connection. No. There's certainly no love there. No. So it's just an act. They're behaving like animals.
I heard a really interesting interview of Bonnie Blue a few months ago now, and
she wrote for The Spectator last week, for goodness sake.
I've yet to read that, but she was making the argument that it's all about a woman being in control and having power over men.
No,
that was the backbone argument. that she was making.
Oh, she was lying on her back.
Yeah, quite.
Well, quite. But my point about Hugh Hefner, you know, he procured girls. Girls wanted to go to the Playboy Mansion to be a Playboy bunny. Some girls were, that was their aspiration. It was very aspirational. It was a brand. And yet there was men that went along with that as well. Wait, what's the difference?
Yeah. Well, the difference is one was a member of the royal family.
Maybe
it becomes a different story, doesn't it?
Well, yeah.
And I'm not trying to belittle what happened to anyone involved in both those examples, but that is why. I mean, the thing that I'm genuinely shocked about this, because just when you think it can't get any worse. You look at, and this story broke. It was this morning, wasn't it? I think when I first came across it, because it wasn't on the front pages of this morning's papers, but online. Just when you think it can't get any worse, you know, you have this email from the Invisible Man, in Balmoral. Wonder who that could be, and you know, and this term inappropriate friends, and you just think, is there anything left to come out about this?
Well, even the Mandelson emails. They were crass and really, really creepy. Really creepy. And then Fergie jumping on the bandwagon, you know, saying, well, he didn't want to bring any attention to her husband and everything else. It's just awful. It's so awful.
Okay, give me your take. Is it, because it is genuinely, as we would say in our world, a fascinating story, and it's the royals, so it's a global story. It's not just a UK story. For you, is this about, and I'm talking about what it appears that Andrew has done in the past, and also the people around him, including
who enabled it.
Enabled it. Is it about power? Is it about money? What's it all about?
It's arrogance.
You think it's arrogance?
Absolute arrogance. It's not necessarily power. The man is so arrogant, he thought he could do what he wanted, and he did what he did. He did what he wanted to do, and he got away with it because of sycophants, because of arrogance, because of enablers, and because he is a royal, and that was it. It's like a, you know, I can do what I want.
Yeah. Do you? And you made an interesting comment earlier. Do you think? I mean, he was often said that he was the Queen's favourite son, and I'm not suggesting that maybe she knew about stuff and we would never know. But are you of the view then that certainly in the royal world there was definitely a bit of understanding that he was, I don't know what phrase to use.
A cad. Then.
No more than a cad. I mean, up to some pretty unpleasant stuff.
I was
I know.
Being generous. I was being in the Christmas spirit there, Duncan.
Right. Yeah.
Don't pull the cracker.
But do you think they just thought he's a cad?
Yeah, and I thought, oh, you know, that's sleazy Andy, or you know, remember Paddy Ashdown was Paddy Pantsdown.
Yes.
Right. So I think it was a case of like perhaps they all knew, but obviously not to the extent where you would hope, not to the extent. And why do the royal family always have the knee-jerk reaction when the story's out? Why couldn't they just take care of their own courtiers and deal with it? You know, then there would be the Queen's motto, the old adage of never explain and never complain. Yeah,
absolutely that. And while all of these stories hit the front page...
And don't forget, he paid Geoffrey off.
Yeah, millions.
12-odd million.
Exactly. But all of these stories that are, again, dominating the front pages this morning about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is against the backdrop of Buckingham Palace and the royal operation, who are trying desperately to get on the front foot, because yesterday's front pages, or rather Tuesday's front pages, you know, had a story about King Charles doing more
532 day or hours
visits, engagements, or whatever, double that of his son William. You got that. A couple of days ago we had little Prince George, you know, in a homeless
shelter.
Exactly. So there's the Buckingham Palace are trying to push this. This is the modern face of the royals, and they need to do that because there are generations coming through.
We pay them.
Exactly, we pay them, and there are generations coming through who won't have the connection that some people did with the Queen and whatever. And whilst they're desperately trying to do that, you have pages like this. Oh, once again, it's Andrew on the front page. Find me inappropriate friends.
I think it raises a very serious question in terms of the sustainability and the public perception of the monarchy.
Really? Do you don't think they can come back from this?
I don't know, and I think this is part of the this runs the cost of King Charles watering down and making the royal family smaller. I think this is the fallout from that as well, because the optic, the microscope, the magnifying glass, they're a much smaller collection now to look at.
Very much.
Okay, so the optic, the research data is much smaller. So therefore, it's magnified tenfold as into what they actually do. And I would go as far as to say that, and I'm no monarchist really, and I'm not a Republican either,
right.
But do we have a place for the royal family in this country the way they are operating at the moment? I don't know.
Is there anything else that King Charles, because ultimately he would be the one that would call the shots, is there anything else he can do about his little brother? I mean, is there anything left? I don't think there is.
No, I mean,
there?
removing of the gun licence for a start, but I think that's a safety thing for him.
You do?
I do.
Because that was on the front page of The Sun, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to go out and shoot people, I don't think.
But in order to do that, the police wouldn't have done that off their own backs.
Exactly, so I think there was a danger.
You think someone associated with the royal family thought, do you know what, just in case?
Perhaps.
Wow, OK. Anything, I mean, I was chatting about this the other night here at Talk, and it's almost like the only other thing left is for him to go and live in a different country.
That'd be great.
Wouldn't it?
That'd be absolutely great. He can take that silly wife with him too, that silly ex-wife.
All right, Claire, more from Wednesday's front pages in a few moments' time. I'm Duncan Barkes, alongside me is broadcaster Claire Muldoon. We're going through the front pages of Wednesday's newspapers, and this is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Late Tuesday night, I'm Duncan Barkes. This is Talk. Good to have you along. I hope your, your preparations for the festive week are going remarkably well. I was out and about. Actually, we should talk about this, Claire Muldoon. I was out and about today doing some last-minute bits, right? I hate that term. What?
Buying presents?
No.
Yes, you were.
I wasn't buying presents. If I say what I had to go and get, people will judge me for it.
Judgy.
Look.
What?
Right.
You're blushing now.
No, I am now because you put me on the spot.
Yeah, well,
I feel like I'm on the naughty step.
Well,
I ran out of olive oil. All right, you asked me. I'm being honest. I ran out. All right, got people are coming to stay for Christmas. Needed some olive oil.
All right.
What's the matter with that?
And?
Do you not eat olive oil?
Well, no, I generally cook with it, as opposed to sit down with a knife and fork with it.
Well, you know what I mean.
Barkes.
Right, you cook with it, right?
Yeah.
Right, so I ran out.
Right, okay.
Okay, and...
That was bad planning.
It was, and it
took
literally...
you to the 23rd of December to run out of olive oil. When was the last time you used it? 23rd of December last year?
All right. It was psychotic out there. People were literally psychotic.
You're exaggerating.
I'm not exaggerating.
Yes, you are.
There was madness in their eyes. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, if you've tuned in tonight, thank you, and I hope your Christmas preparations are going well. We're picking over the front pages of Wednesday's newspapers.
And if you're in a pub listening or watching to this, do call in. Leave Duncan a voice note.
Yeah, we need some pub activity, and we'll focus on that after midnight, because one of the things we're trying to do tonight is to save the great British boozer, because it is under the cosh. I mean, it is interesting. Let's just pick up on that for a second. We'll come back to the papers in a minute. We talked about Gen Zers coming through and how they don't go to pubs. Do you think the pub will survive? No disrespect, but when lushies like you and I die out, okay, who's going to go to them? That's a fair question.
No, it is a fair question.
Yeah.
But the problem isn't lushes like us not going. The problem is the Labour government and put this firmly at the foot of Rachel Reeves.
Right.
Don't forget, in April next year, the COVID tax relief will end for hospitality and for retailers.
Yeah.
Retailers, it will be a lot easier to absorb the cost of that than it will be for pubs. So they've been hit by that. They've been hit by the national insurance contributions for employers. They're getting hit with the rise in minimum wage. The VAT and everything else on booze, etc., and the inability of pubs to actually pay for live sporting events because it's hugely costly, and the cost of heating, running the pubs as well. And then there was an issue of taxation and the council tax of pubs as well. So this could be easily solved by giving them a break. I mean, they're not there. They don't make often publicans, traditional independent ones. They live above their shop front. Really, they live in the premises. And it's not. I mean, EastEnders, okay, get out my pub. It's all a bit like that, but you know that's people's homes. I mean, they really are wrecking the economy. They're wrecking communities, they're wrecking businesses. When is this wrecking going to stop?
Well, I mean, just to put forward the other viewpoint, and there is one. I mean, where I live, the pubs were closing down before this government came into power.
Right.
It's not just a Labour thing.
Well, they're not helping.
They're certainly not helping. They're certainly not helping.
And there's a litany of excuses there I've just given you. Coming from the Labour,
I'm just saying,
coming from number 11.
But I do wonder, and I'm with you. I think Labour should be doing a lot more to support these pubs, and I think Rachel Reeves's first two budgets have been catastrophic for the pub sector. But pubs were closing before this government, and that we have to acknowledge that there might be other reasons than this government for those pubs closing, and it might just be.
Well, you can do that. I'm not.
No, I'm just going to say.
It's your show.
It's not this hour. This is our hour. But you know, there might be reasons.
I don't run out of olive oil.
There might be reasons that people. Look, it's a very good reason, right? I smashed the bottle. That's why I ran out.
Buy plastic bottles.
Look, well, stop telling me how to live my life.
But you clearly didn't.
Well, quite possibly. You're not the first person to say that. But, you know, maybe pubs were closing before this government for the fact that people just reached a point where they thought, do you know what, I can't afford to go to them. Because if you can go to the supermarket and buy 12 cans of beer for a tenner, right, and then you go to the pub and 2 pints outside of London, you can just about get 2 pints for a tenner. You just go,
Duncan,
actually, it's not worth it.
No, that's actually, I get your point, right? But
well, it's a good point.
Well, it's not really, because look at Scotland, because they've got minimum unit pricing for alcohol. Okay, so they can't get the bog-offs, they can't get the buy 6, get 25% off. They can't get, you know, with club card points, or other supermarkets are available, every little helps. But, you know, they don't have that. And yet pubs up there are still closing down too. Okay.
That's true. And why are they closing then? Because they were closing before Labour.
Cost issue. Punters not coming in. And people, there is not only that, but do you remember back in the 80s? It was a lipstick test, right? The luxury good test and gauging the economy.
I don't know what this is. What's this?
Right. It meant that if the rise in luxury beauty products like a lipstick, or you know, a really good quality lipstick, about £40 or something like that, for something you can get.
Do women pay 40 quid for a lipstick?
Yes, we do.
Why?
Yes, because it's beautiful, it stays on, and it's you know, that's it. Anyway, so if sales
it stays on, that's it.
If sales and lipstick go up, that's people then saying, okay, well, I can't afford like maybe a Rolex or a fur coat or something like that, so I'll go for something that's semi-achievable, semi-attainable, and that's like the lipstick. So what we've found is in this economy, in this gig economy, the zero-hour contract economy, that's actually quite a good benchmark.
Okay. Fair enough. We'll go back to the front pages in a few moments' time. We've gone off on a little bit of a tangent, but just a heads up that after midnight we'll take your calls on this and your messages as well, as we celebrate the Great British Pub, and also we need to get into the, I suppose, what's that phrase, get into the reeds of what it means to be working class. Claire Muldoon is here. We've got the front pages of Wednesday's newspapers. More from them in a few moments' time. This is Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
If only you could hear the bits that happen during the breaks. That is a good joke, isn't it? That is a really funny
Brilliant joke.
There's no way I can do it.
House.
Claire Muldoon is here, broadcaster, as we continue to pick over the front pages of Wednesday's newspapers and other stories. What else have you discovered?
Oh, the Daily Star for tomorrow's paper is leading with Loathe Actually.
Oh, right.
To me, it's not perfect. Love Actually legend Richard Curtis and his wife, of course, who's Emma Freud, loathe the idea of a 30-pitch campsite in their swanky village. So town planners, it's a big no from them. So the Curtises object to the 30-pitch campsite, which is a bit strange. I don't know where their swanky village is.
The Daily Star have taken a planning story and put it on the front page of their newspaper just because it happens to be somewhere near Richard Curtis's house with his wife, Emma Freud. And they've only done that because, of course, one of the big Christmas films is Love Actually. Do you rate that film?
I actually really like that film.
For me, it's Bill Nye.
Oh, and Dick.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a good film, isn't it?
Become a rock star, kids. You get drugs for free.
I know, it's brilliant. He is such a good actor, Bill Nye.
So good.
Have you heard his podcast?
No, I didn't know he did one.
Yeah, it's really good.
Has it been on your sausage one?
No, let's not go down that route. Bill Nye does a podcast called... Oh, I'll go down that route because I haven't plugged it yet since I've been here. I do a podcast all about sausages. It's called Prick with a Fork. I make my own sausages. I sample sausages. It's on YouTube. It's just clocked over 1,600 subscribers. We did a taste test last week on... Oh, it's ghastly. Heinz, you know Heinz beans?
Yeah.
You know they do Heinz beans with mini sausages.
Yeah.
They did a limited edition
Do
one.
they still sell them?
They did a limited edition one for Christmas, which is Heinz baked beans with pigs in blankets in and, quote, Christmas seasoning. And we did a taste test on the podcast. It's on YouTube, shameless plug, Prick with a Fork, go and subscribe and enjoy all of the content on there. It's an absolute shocker. But no, Bill Nye's podcast is called Ill Advised.
Oh.
And it's brilliant. I'm not going to say anything else. Are you a podcast listener?
He's a great actor.
He's brilliant. He's just got that. He could read out a shopping list, Bill Nye, and you would just go, this is just tremendous.
That's what someone said about Leslie Manville. I think she's one of our best actresses ever. I would actually go and see her read out a phone book.
Yeah.
She is just...
There are some actors and actresses who can just pull that off.
McKellen's another.
Yeah, McKellen. Do his shopping list.
I saw him in Richard III. Oh,
was he good?
Brilliant.
What's his boozers? He's still got that boozer in North London.
Yeah.
Is it a great?
He went to it. Yeah, exactly.
He lives next door to it, doesn't he?
Yes. And they had a quiz night in the boozer.
Yeah.
And he went to it.
Brilliant. But going back to Love Actually, that's interesting, this story on the front page of Wednesday's Daily Star. A planning story just linked to Richard Curtis, because apparently he doesn't like, well, he's the ultimate NIMBY, isn't he? Not in my backyard.
Yes.
Let's spend a few moments then, because we are pretty much into Christmas Eve 2025. You like Love Actually. Is there any other Christmas films you rate?
Oh, yeah. The Holiday.
I like The Holiday. Oh, don't get me started on Kate Winslet. Oh.
The Holiday is brilliant.
Oh, Kate Winslet. Anyone else like Kate Winslet? Yeah, Kate Winslet.
And all I have to say to you is this for this one. What? When you hear a bell ring, that's when an angel gets his wings. Oh, it's a wonderful life.
That's a great film. It's Capra, wasn't it?
Yes.
Richard Capra? No.
Franz Capra.
Who? Robert Capra. No, he was the war photographer. Who was it who did... oh, it's going to annoy me. Who wrote Gee, It's a Wonderful Life?
I mean, there is domestic abuse in that film, right? That is, you know, I mean, watch it back now, and we seem to watch things now with a completely different eye than when they were first came out. But it is a beautiful film. You know, it's triumph over adversity. It's, you know, an outlook, positive outlook, light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. It's family orientated. It's cause and effect. For me, it's beautiful.
It's directed by Frank Capra.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I was just double checking. We can't give out duff information.
No.
All right. What else have you found?
Right. So there's not. I mean, tomorrow's papers are all full of. No word of a lie here. All A from Balmoral and the U-turn
and the farmers.
On farmers, which is hugely important, but we've covered. Yeah. So I went through today's papers, and I always like a really I mean, I love a Christmas cracker. Remember Frank, what was his name? Frank Carson, was it?
Yeah.
It's a cracker.
It's the way I tell
It's
them.
a cracker, it's the way I tell them.
Yeah.
Right, what do you call a snowman? An old snowman?
Go on.
Water. I think that's brilliant.
Water?
Yeah, water. Yes.
That's probably the worst joke I've heard.
No, it's not.
It's rubbish. There's no humour to it.
This is Charles Brandreth. No, it's very funny.
Oh, it's Giles Brandreth.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Has he got a book to plug?
No. Pull the other one. Giles Brandreth picks the best cracker joke of the year.
Okay.
He also asks, how does good King Wenceslas like his pizza?
Go on, something about even, isn't there? There must be, yeah.
Deep and crisp and even. And on the back of that,
Yeah.
there's a chippy in Soho.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but it's covered in one of the papers, I think it's the Express,
Yeah.
that are doing deep-fried Christmas chocolate Yule logs.
Now, that's interesting. Would you, as someone from, I'm going to stereotype a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
No, but only because...
I've never had one, though.
Haven't you?
No, never had
Deep-fried
one.
Mars bar?
And yeah, thank God you've explained what you were talking about.
Fish bar in Glasgow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Never had one.
They deep fry anything up there.
Yeah, when I was in Liverpool, the Lobster Pot, which is just round the corner from
The chicken shop.
St John's Beacon, used to do deep-fried pizza.
Oh, deep fried pizzas I love, actually.
Actually feel the
Oh, but they're
arteries clogging.
beautiful.
And deep-fried Mars bars. Guess
Yeah.
what they did at Easter time?
Deep fried cream eggs.
Yeah.
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 Beautiful.
Well, this chippy in Soho, every time a chocolate deep fried Yule log is sold, they donate money to a very worthwhile cause, actually, especially at this time of year. It's a lovely, wonderful homeless charity that they give their money to. So that's actually quite good.
That's good. Do you know anything about science? Because I'm going to ask a really dumb question,
Right,
and I'm
tell
happy
me.
to do it. I don't understand how the chocolate doesn't melt.
Because it's in the the batter holds it.
So it's that hot that it
It's
just
the
encases
oil
this
is
that
that
quickly.
hot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
and
yeah.
then it dips into the batter.
Yeah.
It's the same way that fish is preserved when you open up the fish.
Of course it is.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, so the batter
I've
preserves...
never seen it cooked. I
The
just
batter
often wondered.
preserves it, it gets chucked in,
Yeah.
and then comes out,
Yeah.
and then when you open it, then everything is gooey in the inside.
So this chippy in Soho
Yeah.
is doing the deep-fried Yule logs.
Yeah.
Right, we talked about deep-fried Mars bars and Cadbury's cream eggs. This
Yeah.
is a nice... This gets us into something else on this almost Christmas Eve, because it is, which is, do you have in your house on Christmas Day morning a certain foodie thing that you always do?
Yep.
Yeah, see, I thought you would. What is it?
Yep. So we
Is
do...
it weird?
No,
Oh,
good
that's
God,
a
no.
shame.
We do stockings in Christmas Eve,
Yep.
right? Then we go to Mass.
Yep.
Then we come back, and then we have...
Do you go on mass to mass?
Yes, we do.
So you and all of the children?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yes,
great.
yes, Yes. Once a Catholic, always a Catholic.
Yeah, quite.
Anyway, so we do that, come back,
Yeah.
swig a bit more, and then we wake
Do you
up.
drink? Sorry, do you drink before you go to mass?
Well, we have, we do have a couple of glasses of fizz.
Because you did say swig a bit more.
Yeah. And then we go to sleep, and then we wake up, and then Santa comes.
Yeah.
Santa leaves a huge big sack
Yeah.
of presents,
Yeah.
and then we start with some Christmas Bollinger. Then we have...
Bollinger?
Yeah, bolly.
Yeah.
Then we have smoked salmon and scrambled eggs. And
Nice.
croissants,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then we get rid of all the presents, and then we drink some more,
Yeah.
and then we get changed. Then we make the prep
So
for
get changed into... What were you wearing before you got
our
changed?
Christmas pyjamas, of course.
Right.
We really go for it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get changed for lunch.
Yeah.
And
What
then,
time is lunch? Because yesterday we had Amy Fisher in, who was going through the papers, and she was absolutely resolute. You can't have your Christmas Day lunch until after the King's speech. I get the sense from you, given our conversations
Yeah.
about the Andrews stories,
Yeah.
that probably doesn't necessarily... That's not a deal breaker, is it? No.
No. We have lunch when it's ready.
Yeah.
You know?
And again, is that getting onto the foodie stuff of Christmas? Is that your typical? Is it traditional? So what I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Is it
so
turkey?
I am Turkey Crown.
Yeah.
I am doing my ham in ginger beer, and then glaze it with ginger conserve and marmalade.
Oh.
And then Yep.
Now that's nice. Do you do it in the slow cooker?
No, good God, no.
Why not? Why are you being so
Because
offended by that
because
comment?
yeah, I cook properly. Then
Well, slow
I've
cooker
made
is properly. You can put it in the night before.
for a
with-
midweek snack. yes.
Right.
Not for your Christmas Day lunch.
Why not? Well, no, hang on, because it would save you a lot of time. You could put that in on Christmas Eve when you
No, it
go to
needs to
bed,
boil.
after you've had
It
your...
needs to
I think
boil.
I've lost track of it now.
How much I drank.
Which bit of booze you've had. You go to bed, you could wake
I had to
up,
have a
and
martini
it'd be
as well.
ready. Your ham would be in the slow cooker, all of your ginger stuff.
You can't cook it'll get all rubbery. You need to do it properly. I've already made the red cabbage and apple. I've done that.
Nice.
Homemade cranberry
Do you put
sauce
raisins
powder.
in that?
No, I do not.
Why not?
Because that's not what you... That's
Okay.
that's wrong.
Yeah.
Red onion, cinnamon, clove,
Yeah.
cooking apples, red cabbage,
Yeah.
red wine vinegar, and a whole load of muscovado sugar.
Nice.
It's beautiful. I'm a
Yeah.
great cook. And then...
She said.
Don't lie.
Roast potatoes? Goose fat?
No, beef dripping. They give you a better crushed, crisp, crunchy.
So parboiled, roughed up a little bit.
I don't
then
parboil them.
You don't? You see,
No.
I can say this time of year, every TV chef is in every colour supplement of every newspaper at the weekend going, you must parboil them, and then you got Jamie Law going, rough them up a little bit. You've got to rough them up, and then you stick them in, and it's always goose fat. I rarely
Beef
hear anyone
dripping
suggesting
is
beef
better,
dripping.
Better.
That's proper, isn't it?
It's better for you, actually, as well.
Is it? What about your parsnips?
Well, parsnips are honey and mustard glazed.
Yeah.
The other thing we love sprouts, so
Yeah.
I shred them up.
Yeah.
I get a green Savoy cabbage and I get spring onions.
Oh, yeah.
Fry all that off.
Yeah.
Add a bit of cream,
Yeah.
and that's it. Job done.
Again, when
And
Amy
then
and
Christmas Day sandwiches.
Well, hang on. We went off piste and ended up talking about food. As you can tell, it's a subject close to my heart, quite literally. At the end of the paper
At the
stuff,
end of that artery.
we did the paper stuff we did yesterday. So we'll finish this session on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Because I take the view that Boxing Day is better for food than Christmas Day.
Do you?
Yeah, because you've got all of the leftover stuff. You've got absolutely everything. So you've got your gorgeous ham, which is cold.
Yeah.
You've got your gorgeous turkey.
Yeah.
You've got everything
There'll be
else.
nothing left in our house.
Really?
'Cause we have
Are they like
Christmas Day
gannets?
we have Christmas Day sandwiches
What time do you do that?
after we've played our games.
Oh.
It depends how many martinis I've had.
Is it traditional games?
No, it's the Traitors, and then
it's Traitors.
the Traitors board game. We play Cards Against Humanity as well, which
I
is
love
really
that.
good.
I love that.
especially with like grown-up children.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then we play. It's just charades. You know, when you put the post-it on and you have to beat the
Yeah.
yes/no game.
Yeah.
So we've got lots of games, lots of fun, lots of laughter.
Yeah.
And that's it. Lots of booze.
So Boxing. What happens on Boxing Day?
Oh.
Is it just Hangover City?
No,
and like...
it's we make mulled wine on Boxing Day, right? This is what we do.
Yeah, go on.
Put it into takeaway cups and we go walk down the Thames.
Nice. That is nice. And just food.
And then go to a pub.
What do you eat then? If you've eaten everything on Christmas Day and there's nothing left over?
We always have a huge cheese board, so there's always cheese and
I'm
biscuits.
glad the conversation went round to cheese because it did this time yesterday. What's on the cheese board?
We have a Pierre d'Angauloise, we've got a Camembert, we've got Port Salut, we've got a British Stilton, we've got a crunchy. What's that cheddar called? The crunchy one?
Black Bomber?
No. Anyway, that one.
Yeah.
I've got a Manchego.
Oh, I like
and
that.
I've got every chutney you could ever imagine. We've got.
Yeah.
And the goat's cheese.
Do you make your own chutney at all?
I don't. You see.
You surprised me. Being such a good cook, I would have thought that would be on your list.
Well, no, because there's just too many good brands out there, especially the crafty markets, and I like to buy from local independent and taste.
For me,
taste the difference.
nothing beats a cheddar like Black Bomber. I love my Black Bomber. With it, and I don't know because I
Cruncher, that was a cheddar cruncher.
I feel that you're quite judgmental when it comes to certain things.
Yeah.
Oatcakes.
Yes.
Yes.
An
oatcake with some Black Bomber and a good kind of like a pear chutney.
Lovely.
Or maybe a bit of quince.
Quince. We've got the quince for the membrabila, whatever it's called, membrilla. Yeah, for the Manchego.
Right.
Yeah.
That is a really nice Boxing Day menu.
Yeah.
And cheese board.
Yeah.
Listen, it's been an absolute joy. Thank you for coming in on this Christmas week.
You're very, very
and thank you for going through the
lucky that I'm
newspapers.
here.
Yeah, very lucky that
Don't
you're
be
here.
silly.
And the added bonus of some culinary tips for the festive period.
Yeah, don't buy glass olive oil.
Let it go. Claire Muldoon, thank you. Have a great Christmas.
And
I
you
suppose I
too.
also... New Year, do you do anything? You're Scottish, you must do something.
I go to my bed. I hate New Year.
Do you see? That's really interesting. What time do you knock it on the head?
10 o'clock.
Do you?
Yeah.
just go to bed and just go, I'm not participating? Really?
Yep. Hate it. I hate it with a passion.
Well, have a great Christmas with all your children.
Thank you.
In your Christmas pyjamas.
Thank you.
And the vast amounts of food.
And alcohol.
And we will see you on the other side.
We will.
As they say.
Take care.
Muldoon,
God bless,
broadcaster,
Duncan.
thank you. A lot of stuff to talk about after midnight here on Talk as we head into Christmas Eve. Blimey, 2025. So a couple of things that we want to knock around. We want to talk about pubs, and we want to talk about the importance of the great British boozer. We want to name the great pubs that may well exist in your part of town. Maybe you're a regular at a pub somewhere. Maybe you're a landlady or a landlord. What time is it? It's almost midnight. And you're thinking, yeah, I've got the radio on in the background. I want to fly the flag for my pub. Let's get you on the air. 0344 499 1000 as we continue to fly the flag for great British pubs. You can text the word talk and anything you want to say about pubs. Maybe you dislike a pub. Maybe you think it's a good thing the pubs are closing. 87222 is the text number. Start your message with the word talk. We'll have some serious pub chat. And do you think pubs will survive? I mean, I think there's a very big issue with generations coming through who simply don't go to the pub. You know, Generation Z, thankfully I'm not. I'm Generation X. I mean, I grew up drinking in pubs at a very young age. But Gen Z, they don't like the boozers. We're also going to try and work out in the next hour what it means to be working class in 2025. How do you define it? And what's interesting about this is how do you define yourself? If someone said, what are you? Would you say, oh, I'm working class? I'm middle class? I'm upper class? What does that actually mean? 87222 is the text number. Start your message with the word talk. You can call us, lines free after midnight, 0344 499 1000. We can have a chinwag. WhatsApp messages also come to that number, and you can send a voice note to 0344 499 1000. We're here after midnight. This is Talk.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
The early hours of Christmas Eve 2025. I know, it's a shocker. I'm Duncan Barkes. I'm here through until 1 a.m. This is Talk. It's the place where the nation comes to talk, and we got a ton of stuff to chew over. 0344 499 1000 is the number. What I call the original social media. If you're up late for whatever reason, fancy a chinwag as we chew over pubs, a little bit of chat about foreign aid and what it means to be working class. We've got lines available between now and 1 a.m. 0344 499 1000. Give us a shout. You can send voice notes to that number and you can WhatsApp us as well. And if you're a little bit old school, and I mean that with respect, you can text as well. 87222 is the text number, but you've got to start your message with the word talk, otherwise it ends up somewhere else. I don't know. Radio Bolivia, I think. 87222 is the text number. Start your message with the word talk. A little bit of chat about foreign aid. We covered this in the first hour, and I'm just curious for you to tell me and others listening and watching tonight where you sit on foreign aid, because what's kicked this off is Reform UK, who are doing really well in the polls at the moment, have said if they get into government, they would slash the aid budget by 90%. What does that mean? It means there's only £1 billion left in the UK aid budget. Now, this is if Reform get into government, and it got us thinking about you and whether or not you think we should be committing money to foreign aid. Is it important? Why does it matter? How important is foreign aid to you? You can make the argument that we are a relatively affluent country compared to other countries around the world. You know, we are still one of the top 10 richest nations. On that basis, we have some cash, right? Should we be sending it overseas to other countries to help develop those countries? You can make the argument that we can afford it, though the flip side of all of this is we have a country that, if you look around, it needs money spent on it, right? I mean, not a day goes by when you don't hear about the NHS constantly saying it needs more money, all right? You talk to teachers, oh, they need more money, all right? We've got striking doctors, they want more money. We've got people who constantly seem to be on the cusp of industrial action because they need more money. And all of this stuff matters because if people don't work or the investment's not there, then you and I as taxpayers, or indeed customers, if you like, of the government, because ultimately that's what we are, we don't get what we deserve. So is it a case of charity starts at home, which is what a lot of people say to me whenever I talk about this on the radio, on the telly or whatever? People just go, we need to sort out our own backyard first before we start looking at sending money overseas. And you only have to go back to, I think it was 2015, when David Cameron was Prime Minister, and he enshrined in law that we would give 0.7% of our GDP, gross domestic product, to overseas aid. So your thoughts on that this morning? 0344 499 1000 is the number. We're also talking about pubs, the Great British Boozer. I've got a list here, right? And you can judge me, and many of you already have done, but I've got a list here of some of the great pubs that I rate from my travels around the United Kingdom over the years. Now, I think a pub is not just about a place to go and booze. It's a place that is the hub of a community. I've drunk in pubs, and I still do, where there are customers, regulars you might call them, and they tend to be men. They are men who live alone or they're widowed, okay? And I know from the conversations I've had with them and conversations I've overheard, because we always do that, we eavesdrop, don't we, in a pub, all right? If someone's going on, you have a sneaky listen. Don't tell me you don't do that, because you're lying, right? And I hear these conversations, and I know for some men who go to those pubs, right, and they're not in there all day, they just turn up for a couple of beers and that's it. That is the only social interaction they get. Consider that for a second. You're widowed, your family lives in a different part of the country, and the only social interaction you get, and possibly your only mini network in the community where you live, are the people in your local pub. That's why pubs matter. That's why we need to ensure that everything is done to make them survive. And also it gets us into the whole area as well. A lot of pubs do stuff like local music and band nights, right? That's really important. They raise money for charity. I said earlier, one of my local pubs, the Eastgate in Chichester, West Sussex. If you see a fat man in the corner with a black dog, that'll be me. Come and say hello. You can always buy me a beer. They do darts on a Sunday night, and it's a great thing to watch. I couldn't play darts. I mean, I wear these things in my eyes, and I can't see what's going on half the time. All right? It's a beautiful thing to watch because different generations, mix and they play darts. And you have guys in their late teens, early 20s, all right, who play darts alongside guys in their late 70s. It's a great thing. That can only happen happen in a pub. So I've just given you my pitch as to why the Great British Pub needs to survive. We need to do everything possible to ensure their survival. So we're celebrating the Great British Pub, and I want you to tell me tonight about the best boozers that you've come across. I mentioned earlier one in Exmouth in Devon called the Bicton Inn. That's a good pub. I also, when I worked and lived in Liverpool, I'm just trying to think, how arrogant does this sound? It's going to sound really arrogant. You ready for this? I'm one of the few broadcasters who's got a pub named after him. Dr. Duncan's in Liverpool city centre. Google it now. Now, it's not obviously named after me, but my name is Duncan. There aren't many broadcasters called Duncan, and there is a pub called Dr. Duncan's, funnily enough, named after a doctor. It's a great boozer. It's like an old-fashioned gin palace. You've got lovely dark wood and stained glass. Oh, it's magnificent. And they used to do a lovely pint of Canes, which was, I don't know if it's still going. It was a Liverpool local beer, Canes, C-A-I-N-S. Beautiful. Used to be able to get it for £1.69. That's a great pub. And there's another one as well in Durham that I like underneath the railway arches called the Coal Pits, which is great. It's owned by that guy who's got a pub chain. He's got loads in different parts of the country, quite a few in London, where you're not allowed mobile phones. I want to say a Samuel Smith pub, but someone will need to Google. So those are some of my favourite pubs. So we're talking about pubs. Get in contact, tell me your best boozers. Maybe you're listening at the moment, you're a pub regular. Let's celebrate that. And what can be done to save the pub? And also, let's have that difficult conversation, which is, do you think they'll survive? So all of that's going on between now and 1 a.m. And we're trying to work out what it means to be working class off the back of this story, which it appears that if you're a train driver and you earn up to £80,000 a year, you are categorised as working class. Now, I don't have an issue with anyone earning vast amounts of money. I say good luck to people, okay, including train drivers. I know it's a controversial view. Well, 80 grand, well, all you have to do is push a button, is always the argument you hear. But look, if you could get a job that paid you £80,000 a year, right, you'd take it, wouldn't you? You know, and that gets us into the conversation about the unions. If you've got a union who's getting you, you know, a great pension, 80 grand a year for just being a train driver, you take it if you could, right? So let's not muck around. I have no problem in this world with people getting as much as they can, I think pretty much without limits, for doing jobs, okay? But what I can't get my head around here is train drivers earning £80,000 a year being categorised as working class. And it's getting us into this conversation this morning here on Talk, which is, what is working class? How do you define it? And here is the killer question, right? How do you define yourself? Because you can make a really simple argument. If you work for a living, your alarm clock goes off. You know, this radio station is all about supporting Alarm Clock Britain. Your alarm goes off in the morning, I don't know, 6:15. You're in the car by 7. You're going somewhere to graft. That's working, isn't it? Isn't that a very simple definition of being working class? Or is it about what you do to earn that money? Is it about the kind of graft you do, all right? If someone is, I don't know, an engineer, I don't know if engineer is the best term. No, if someone has got a trade, does that automatically make you working class? What is it? What does it mean to be working class? And also, how would you define yourself? Get in contact, 0344 499 1000 for your calls. I've got some lines available, but it's getting busy. So call now, and you will get on before 1 o'clock this morning. And I want to talk to as many people as possible, because that's what this radio station is about. You can send WhatsApps to that number, voice notes as well, and we'll play them out. And if you're a little bit old school, 87222 on the text. Start your message with the word talk. Let's talk to Dan, who's in Warrington. Hello, Dan.
Good Christmas Eve. How are you?
Good Christmas Eve, yeah.
So the working class question.
Yeah.
So I think there's a few rabbit holes that I can go down. As a fuel tanker driver myself, probably in a way with a train driver is what people are saying about the sort of money they earn. And I think that the way I look at it is one of the rabbit holes is accountability. So if said train driver makes a mistake, so if he goes over the speed limit and goes round a bend and the train derails, and passengers die, he'll go to jail, or she'll go to jail. Yeah, if you look at the people that were responsible for the failings in Grenfell Tower,
Yeah.
If you look at the people that were responsible for the failings in the post office scandal, where people died because of that. If you look at the baby P as another example, where people were responsible for administrating and picking up things, you never hear of anybody going to jail. In fact, if you look at the London mayor, he's just been given a knighthood. He's in the House of Lords, and yet he's overseen a huge crime epidemic in his city. He's been rewarded for failure. Now, the blue-collar, working-class people like myself, tanker driver, we don't get rewarded for failure, and we certainly can go to jail for failure.
Yeah.
And that side, you don't see that.
No, Dan, this is really interesting. First off, thank you for giving us a call on this Christmas, very early hours of Christmas Eve, 2025. Yeah. I just want to explore, because you make a cracking point. So you're a tanker driver, and if that tanker overturns as a result, and I'm not saying you'd ever do this, as a result of your dangerous driving, right? Yeah. That's you. Well, certainly out of a job, and possibly, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a legal eagle, but I would have thought if people were harmed as a result of your actions, there might be some corporate manslaughter charges or something brought against you, or certainly your company. So that gets us into the whole area about the amount of responsibility a person has in their role. So is it about responsibility that defines what we categorise them as? I mean, I hate asking people this, but it's one of the things we're talking about this morning. Would you say I'm a tanker driver, so therefore I'm naturally classed as working class?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's part of a whole range of things, and that is one of them. So if I did my vehicle checks and I went out with a bald tyre, and somebody died as a result of that, I'm going to jail. But yet, it seems in all them things that I've pointed out to you in other areas of life where administrators have not...
No, I get the argument, and do you know what, Dad? You're absolutely right, and I'll tell you why. Because I've worked in the past in different organisations. I worked for the BBC for almost 6 years. I also did a little bit of what you'd loosely call political public affairs work for the NHS. I was only there for a year, and there are similarities there. And I'm not here to... I'd never bash frontline NHS staff, because I've got mates, one who's a nurse, someone else who's a paramedic. I know how difficult it is. But the people who make the decisions, and the administrators and the managers, so in the BBC and in the NHS, right, they get something wrong, right, they don't get sacked. They end up getting moved into another job. I've seen it time and time again in both organisations, and you don't have to go too far. If you do some research, you can find out that some failing chief executive of an NHS trust in the United Kingdom steps down and then turns up 6 months later at another NHS organisation. It's genuinely staggering. So I think that's the point you're making, if I've understood you correctly.
It's part of it, and sometimes they get rewarded for it and get bonuses for it. Look at the water companies, for example. They get so there's lots of things like it's also, there's a few other rabbit holes. It's part of my social circle. So if I go to the pub, as you've been talking about pubs, the likelihood is I'm going to be drinking with builders, I'm going to be drinking with a bin man, I'm going to be drinking with, maybe somebody that works on a production line. These blue collar workers, I'm not necessarily in my working group. I'm not necessarily, going out and drinking, having drinks with managers and regional distribution managers and all these kind of things. And so it's to do with the social aspect as well. Your background has a lot to play with that. So I don't think it's just one thing, but it's a multifaceted thing. And I get that sometimes the lines are blurred, where for example, you'll get a train driver that's earning 80,000, whereas somebody else, a manager of a superstore, might be getting 30 or 40,000. I don't know, but at the same time, there's not many working class people that get to earn that type of money. And actually, even when you actually think about, if you look at house prices, if you go back 30 years, 3.5 times somebody's salary. What's 3.5 times a train driver's salary now? I mean, that's maybe not even the average house price, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is a big... there's quite a lot of wormholes to go down here, but I do think there is a difference. And also the voting. So if you look at the vast majority of people, for example, mass immigration, that are impacted are predominantly the working class people living in the working class areas, for example, taking the working class jobs. And they're the ones that vote. They're the ones that are voting for Brexit. They're the ones that are voting for the likes of reform and things like that. If you look at, middle management, upper management, and the white collar type of jobs and students and academics, most of the time they're voting to remain, or they're voting, for...
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, a load of research has been done off the back of particularly Brexit and the demographics of voted leave and remain, etc. And there is certainly a correlation between those who maybe you describe as white collar, who are more likely maybe to have a university background, maybe slightly more liberal with their politics, voting remain, whereas blue collar workers, to use the term working class, possibly more likely to vote leave. Dan, it's a cracking call. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you. Thank you for calling Talk. Right, a couple of messages here. Mike in Whitney has sent a message talking about pubs, saying, Duncan, my gorgeous wife and 3 of her gorgeous friends started at the Plough pub in Whitney at 7 o'clock this evening. Nice, good work. Whitney has around 20 pubs, all of which will be busy, so goodness knows how much fun they'll have. Let's face it, no pubs, no fun. I think you're right, Mike and Whitney. Thank you for that. I'm just wondering how your missus is now. Is she home? Have you had to make her a bacon sandwich? Let me know. What else have I got here? I've got Susan. This is just referring to something that appeared in our paper, looking ahead at the newspapers for Wednesday morning. Susan says this is about Labour's U-turn on the farmers' inheritance tax. Susan says, I've just found out that over 20% of Conservative MPs didn't even bother to vote in support of the debate about the farmers' inheritance tax, yet the Conservatives are trying to take the credit for Labour's change of mind. I think it's because of the public backlash after Starmer being so heartless when he was questioned about farmers taking their own lives. Yeah, I think he needs to learn to express empathy. This was when he was in front of the liaison committee. So just so you're clear, because it can be complicated, we have all of these select committees in Parliament, right, for like health and various other areas. And the chairs of those committees form the liaison committee, which the Prime Minister has to go in front of. I think it's about every 3 to 4 months. And he was asked about the news that farmers were refusing, in some cases, chemotherapy because they'd been diagnosed with cancer, so they would die earlier in order not to be hit by this inheritance tax stuff. And it was just, I mean, look, Starmer doesn't do emotion, does he really? I've not seen him do it. But he just kind of went, oh, I've heard about this. And that was it. And it was just like, oh, mate, please. So, Susan, I take your point and thank you for that. And this is Andrew in Salisbury talking pubs. The Lamb in Devizes, the Haunch of Venison. That is a great name for a pub. The Haunch of Venison. If you were going to create a pub somewhere in Wiltshire, you would call it the Haunch of Venison, wouldn't you? The Haunch of Venison in Salisbury. Both the Wyndham Arms in Salisbury and in Dinton are Andrew in Salisbury's recommendations. Right, calls lined up in Wiltshire and also Tyne and Wear and Luton, and yours as well, 0344 499 1000. We have some lines free. If you call us now, we'll try and get you on ahead of 1 a.m. This is Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
The early hours of Christmas Eve 2025. I'm Duncan Barkes. This is Talk. You can listen to us on DAB Plus radio and also on your smart speaker. And if you're a glutton for punishment, you can see what's going on via YouTube as well. I'm Duncan Barkes. I'm here through until 1 a.m. Just to let you know, 6 o'clock this morning, Kevin O'Sullivan's here with Morning Glory. You have Alex Phillips from 10 a.m. and Nick Dubois from 1 o'clock on Christmas Eve afternoon. Let's crack on with more of your calls as we talk about pubs. We want pub recommendations. Do you think the British pub will survive? Also talking about what it means to be working class and a bit of chat about foreign aid. On the text, it's 87222. Start your message with the word talk. You can send voice notes or WhatsApp messages to the following number, 0344 499 1000. Or you can call that number and we can have a chat. That's exactly what Gary's done in Lincolnshire. A new caller. Hello, Gary.
Good morning, Duncan.
Good to talk to you this morning. How's it going?
Yes, great. I'd like to recommend my pub. I live in a little village in Lincolnshire called Swine's Head.
Yep.
The pub's called the Green Dragon.
The Green Dragon, a great name for a pub.
Yeah, and it's a family-run pub. You'd love it. It's got all the real ales, ciders, Guinness.
All right, let's just pause this conversation for a second because I think you're probably a man after my own heart, right? When were you last in the Green Dragon, Gary?
Unfortunately, I haven't been in for a week because I've had the dreaded lurgy.
Okay, last time you were in, what's your tipple of choice?
Caffrey's.
Caffrey's. Oh, you see, you don't see that in many places. We certainly don't in my part of the world. So you're a Caffrey's man. Do you ever sample of the cask ale, the real ale at all?
Yes, I have, yes.
Can you tell me, just because obviously, we have a shared interest here, can you tell me what's on the pump, or at least on one of the pumps?
Oh, they keep changing them.
That's good.
And they've got strange names, some of them. They've got one there at the moment. It's related to Christmas, and it's got like a flashing Rudolph on the tab.
But you see, that's a sign of a good pub. If you have a changing, you see, in my world, we'd call that a guest ale, maybe. Do you know what I mean? Where it changes every couple of weeks. You see, that is the magic of a good pub. Does the Green Dragon do food?
Yes, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
And what kind of grub does it offer up?
From a burger to steak and chips, fish and chips.
Yeah.
Sort of varied, really. Curry.
Sometimes all you want is a pub curry and a couple of pints of beer. At least I do. And how long? I mean, do you know the people who run it? Have they been there for a while?
Yes, they've been here for about 15 years. Sean and Sarah.
Nice. And you painted the picture brilliantly, so thank you for doing that, Gary. What's the kind of... Does it have a real kind of part to play in the community?
Massively. It's the hub of the village. One of the things I'd like to point out is it's been a lifesaver for me because I moved up here from Hertfordshire 3 years ago.
Yep.
And my partner, she died 18 months ago, and the pub has been a lifesaver for me.
I'm sorry. First off, I'm sorry to hear that, and thank you for sharing that. And the word lifesaver is so powerful, isn't it? Because you might have heard me say earlier, and it might have been one of the reasons you called, that sometimes if something like that happens in your life, you need to reconnect with people, and a pub can do that, can't it?
Yes, and me coming from down south, the people up here are so much more friendly. It's like going back in time.
Isn't that the case? So I mentioned earlier, and I talk about Liverpool quite a lot when I'm on the radio, because I worked for a radio station there for 2.5 years, and I'm as you can tell, I'm a southern boy, right? So it could have gone one of two ways, and it went the right way, where that city, and I was being a little bit naughty on the radio by being a little bit controversial, a little bit, teeny-weeny bit, and it could have gone disastrously wrong, and it went the other way. And I was living up there during the week, and I was in a flat, and if you're listening in Merseyside or in Liverpool, just off the Allerton Road, it's the 86 bus that takes you along the Allerton Road straight into Liverpool city centre, just so we're clear. And I used to go into the pub in the evening, sometimes for my tea, as I would call it, because, I want something to eat and a pint. And you'd walk in there, and within 30 seconds, you would be in a conversation with someone who you'd never met before, right? And you mentioned that the people in the north a lot more friendlier than people in the south, and I'm with you all the way, because down south, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, and maybe people want to contact us this morning and give a view, it's like sometimes they view you with suspicion if you're on your own in a pub. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like that here. It's you know, when my partner died, everybody was so great to me, you know, as if they'd known me for years.
Yeah, and that's worth its weight in gold, isn't it? Particularly if you're, and I use the term affectionately, effectively an alien in the place.
Yes, and another thing, may I make a little plug?
Yeah, I would have thought, as long as it's legal.
Yeah, it's I don't know if you follow darts at all. Obviously, a lot of your listeners will do. Scott Williams, nicknamed Shaggy, he's in the World Darts this year.
Yeah.
He lives in the village and goes in the pub, and because they've got a darts room in the pub, he practices in the pub.
What's he like?
He's a lovely bloke.
Yeah.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Not what he's a bit on the stage, but he's a really nice bloke.
That's really, really good to hear. And I mean, so do you know, hopefully, I mean, you'll be, well, where are you in the lurgy stage? You mentioned you've not been in the Green Dragon for about a week because you've been a bit poorly. Are you on the mend?
Yeah, I've been in bed sort of most of the week now. I still feel a bit shivery, but yeah, I'm hoping I'm virtually over it now.
Do you think you might make it down the Green Dragon for a Christmas Day beer?
Well, saying that, this is how great they are here. There's a knock on the door tonight. My doorbell rang tonight, and it was the landlord. He come round to ask me, "Oh, we haven't seen you lately. Are you okay?" You know, you wouldn't get that down south.
No, do you know what? This is why we need to do everything we can to protect pubs like the Green Dragon. All right, Gary, you're an absolute star for calling up. Thank you. A new caller to talk. You're in Lincolnshire. Before I let you go, just give the Green Dragon a proper big old plug so people know exactly where it is.
Yeah. Come to Swineshead to the Green Dragon, meet Sean and Sarah, have a lovely pint and grub if you want it. You'll absolutely love it. And also, there's a massive log burner in there. It's lovely.
Beautiful. You painted a perfect picture. Look after yourself, my friend. That's Gary in Lincolnshire. Mike is in Wiltshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Duncan. Just thought I'd give you a call regarding the sorry state of our pubs at the moment.
Yeah, we're all ears. What have you got to say?
Well, I've been running pub quizzes on and off for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And I've reinstated that at our local. And 25% of the turnover it goes as a cash prize, and the rest goes to a nominated charity.
Nice.
So they you know, everybody wins out of it, really. The pub well, I managed to fill the pub last time. And I also try and make it so there's a bit of humour involved, and everyone's got a chance of winning.
Nice. So what's the name of the boozer, Mike?
It's a Royal Oak in Pewsey.
And describe it for us, because you know you probably worked out I'm quite a fan of the pub. So what kind of pub is it? What does it look like? Is it oldie worldy? Is it quite modern?
Yeah, it's a bit of an old school pub. I think it's about 300 years old.
Yeah.
You know, fires both ends of the bar, and they play a bit of music there, and they also have a thing called music bingo as well, which is quite popular.
No, I've seen this. I mentioned earlier, because I live in Chichester in West Sussex, there's a place called the Little Monster Tap. I need to do this. Hello, Little Monster. And they do something called rock and roll bingo, which sounds similar to your music bingo. Is that where you basically...
I don't run the music bingo, but it sounds like a great idea.
But how does so I just want to be clear if it's a similar thing. So this thing that they do in my local called rock and roll bingo is you basically get, instead of a bingo card with numbers, you get a bingo card with like song titles and bands, and then you tick it off when the guy's playing.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. I like that. It's good fun.
Yeah, the guy who runs it comes from Essex. Comes all the way from Essex to Wiltshire to run this musical bingo.
Right. Did you say at the beginning of this though you tried to do a pub quiz?
I've done one already. I've run pub quizzes on and off for the last 25 years.
Right,
I'm retired now, so the one thing I've got is loads of time on my hand.
Yeah.
And, it went down really well. I try and make it so everyone's got a chance of winning. And
that's kind. Can I ask you a question about doing a pub quiz? Because you sound like a veteran, because you've run them, right? I sometimes do pub quizzes, but the thing that I find genuinely fascinating from a human nature point of view, a couple of things. First off, how serious people take it, right?
People who come to my quiz don't. Anyway,
right. And the second one was, if you have a team of regulars who always turn up on a weekly basis to the pub quiz, they get really shirty if someone else is sitting at their table.
As far as I'm concerned, it's first come, first served.
Yeah, you see, that's what I think.
Yeah. Another thing I do is I write all my own questions.
Yeah.
And I quite often start off with an answer and work my way back.
I see. Yeah. What categories would you have?
Sorry?
What categories would you have, Mike, just out of interest?
Well, people, places, music, sport, usual things. Yeah, what's the suds?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you an idea of one of the questions I had in the last one. It's what type of vehicle do Rodney and Del Boy drive in Only Fools and Horses? People saying.
Okay, hang on. So hang on. So the talk team tonight, we've rocked up at this pub that you're doing your pub quiz at. We're going to call ourselves the Four Musketeers, because I can't think of anything else. And I think we would go collectively a Reliant Robin.
No, you'd be wrong there, actually.
What is it then?
It's a Reliant Regal van.
Oh. Did you know the answer to that? Why didn't you say? You just made me look like a plum. I thought that was a win.
No. Well, most people did get it wrong, but I also put questions in that everyone's going to get right, so everyone's got a bit of a chance.
Yeah.
But I know at the end of the quiz, if I've done my question writing's been well done, because it's usually slightly more than 50% of the is what most people will get.
I think they're worth their weight in gold, a good pub quiz. Listen, Mike, have a good Christmas and thank you for giving us a call. That's Mike in Wiltshire here on Talk. More of your calls coming up. The number 0344 499 1000. I'm Duncan Barkes and this is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It's the early hours of Christmas Eve 2025. I'm Duncan Barkes in for Petri Hoskin. Petri Hoskin back on this radio station the other side of Christmas. That'll be next Monday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. In the meantime, we're talking about saving the Great British Boozer. What makes the perfect pub? Tell me about your pubs this morning. If you're a landlord or a landlady listening and you want a free plug across the national airwaves, now would be a good time to get involved. Also trying to work out the definition of what it means to be working class, as we hear from one story that train drivers who earn up to £80,000 are classed as working class. And we've had some interesting stuff here about this, whether or not it's got nothing to do with the amount of money you earn. It is in fact everything to do with what you do for a living. So I welcome more of your thoughts on that. And a bit of chat about foreign aid. How important is it? Reform UK, the political party, is saying if you put us in government, we'll slash foreign aid by 90%. That turns out to be £1 billion a year that could be spent around the world. Massive reduction. Is it something we should be doing? Pruning back our foreign aid. All of that happening between now and 1 a.m. Got some lines free, so if you're quick, we can get you in. 0344 499 1000 to call. You can WhatsApp your thoughts to that message. Voice note to that message, we'll play it out. And of course you can text as well. 87222 is the number. Start your message with the word talk. This one here has no name, but it's a text ending with the numbers 7262. I cannot stand pubs that allow children. Oh. They can't drink or buy around, and they're a nuisance. Pubs are no place for kids. Pubs are for black market deals, strippers and bar fights. There's a lot to unpack there. Now, I have a daughter, but she's 21. And I was a habitual taker in of my daughter into pubs when she was a kid, because she was well behaved. She was great. I mean, you could stick her in a little mobile cot under the table and have lunch, and she wouldn't make a noise. She's fantastic. So on that basis, I was quite a fan of children in pubs. But now she's grown up, I never want to see a kid in a pub ever again. I find them really, really annoying, because they're normally misbehaved. When they're running around with snot everywhere, you know, crisps halfway down their front, barging into people, crying because they can't have another packet of Frazzles. I don't want kids in pubs. So I don't know who you are, but thank you very much for your message. And what made me smile is the use of the word strippers. I mean, which pub now still has strippers? Oh, strippers still a thing. Maybe we should open that up this morning. Is that allowed? And one more here. This is from someone whose message ends with 3162. I remember years ago, someone said he used to pop into a London pub for a lunchtime pint in the early 70s. A great band was playing there. They would become Supertramp, says Ian. Thank you, Ian. We could actually do a whole hour on bands and singers you've seen in pubs before they really hit the big time. Maybe at some point we will. Let's go to Luton and Craig. Hello, Craig.
Luton? I'm in West Yorkshire.
Oh, sorry, mate. Well, good to talk to you. What have you got to say this morning?
So my theory is this, Duncan. Well, for the past few years, it's been more difficult and more difficult with taxes and prices going up and being forced online. I'm thinking, do these governments actually want us in pubs? Because all the greatest plots have been hatched from people meeting up in pubs. And they don't know, they can't eavesdrop on people, they don't know what's being discussed in pubs, whereas online, everything very, very soon is going to be able to be seen and heard. So is it a deliberate ploy by the Labour government and the previous government to stop people meeting in pubs, close them all down, there's nowhere for people to go then, which would lead nicely into like 15-minute cities, wouldn't it, if people haven't got anywhere to go, really?
Well, there could be something in what you said there. So if you've read George Orwell's 1984, have you read that book?
I've not, no.
If you read it, so Big Brother, who was just like the authoritarian government in 1984, they allowed what they would call the kind of proles to carry on drinking in pubs in certain parts of cities because they knew where they were and they could monitor their whereabouts. So it's almost like what you're suggesting, which is they recognised, bearing in mind this was fiction, though some of it has become reality over recent decades, you can argue, they realised that pubs are places where revolutions could be planned, where you could create a bit of trouble for whichever government, and they kept them open in 1984 in Orwell's book in order to know where these people were and to monitor them. And that kind of feeds into your idea that possibly the reverse is happening with this government or previous governments. They don't want dissent, they certainly don't want revolution, and these places are where real people come to talk, apart from this radio station talk, of course, and consequently they want to somehow get rid of them. Do you think, I say this with respect, do you think you sound like you have a conspiracy theory, or do you think there's something behind it?
No, I think if 2 and 2 equals 4, and you look at evidence and the way, so if, say for instance, you've got something where you need to discuss say like you was just discussing there, Duncan, about an uprising or something like that.
Yeah.
If it's all online, you know for a fact that if you're online in these social media places like your Facebooks and people like that, and you've got a group of people, you can infiltrate them. You can be a wolf in sheep's clothing. Yeah. Whereas in a pub, somebody comes and sits with you and says, "Oh, do you mind if I sit and talk to you, lads?" You're not going to be as welcome to talk in a conversation with somebody that you don't really know if you're talking about a revolution or something, an uprising or anything like that. And that's what I think. I think it's deliberate, mate. And another one, can I just mention, Duncan, as well? Because when I've rung in and then you started talking about working class. Now, for me, I came from a working class background. Now, for me, working class means you work hard all hours, as many hours as you possibly can, to just get by, to bring your children up, have enough for maybe one family holiday for the year, you have enough just to have a roof over your head and just enough to pay the bills and feed your kids. That, to me, is working class. The people that work so hard for very little, but still have enough to pay just the bills and have a treat maybe at Christmas or a holiday.
That's an interesting definition. Are you still working, Craig?
I still work, yeah. See, there's another one that links in for me, because my career started 40-odd years ago in the pubs and clubs in Hull, singing, performing. So I've seen a hell of a difference in the way that the landscape's changed, where public houses are concerned, and it is sad. It's sad, the demise of what is actually happening to pubs in this land, and I think the government needs to really look at helping these landlords out, especially the ones that they're not part of a brewery chain. They just do it on their own. Tax them less.
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, some of the bigger chains can absorb the increase in cost just due to their sheer scale. Independent pubs find it a lot harder to deal with these increased costs. Craig, a pleasure to talk to you. This one's in Bolton. Hello, Paul.
Hi, you okay?
Very well. What would you like to say, sir?
Well, interestingly, I've rang up to give my definition of my working class, and listening to a few of the calls, it's actually made me more determined to say it, because there's just this stereotype that a lot of people who are working class are often people who are sat in the pub, white, heterosexual, them kind of people. But I'm from the LGBT plus community. I live in the Bolton area, and I'm working class. But when the working classes are spoken about, people from minority groups, we often get left out. We're not thought of as working class. It's like when you go to the gay village in Manchester, Canal Street, or you go to a Pride. Most of the people there, whether it's trans people, bisexual people, you name it, most of us are working class. It's not some, arty-farty thing. A lot of the gay people can be as rough as houses, do you know what I mean? And same with trans people, but we get left out of the conversation, and it's the same with the ethnic.
Well, let me just ask you a question about that, because you've raised a really interesting point. I mean, I would say that I don't think anyone who's contributed to this show over the last 3 hours about this has deliberately left anyone out.
No, I wasn't meaning yourselves. I just meant in general the conversation with politicians and with the media generally. It's just, especially in recent years since all the Brexit and culture wars, we just don't get classed as working class, and neither do people who are ethnic minority.
Well, let me ask you about that, because again, that's an interesting statement. Why do you think that might be the case?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I think to include us, there's a lot of people who are working class that I think are quite bigoted. I know that from living in the Bolton West area. But I think to include... Well,
when you say bigoted, do you they don't understand or don't tolerate someone who might be gay?
Yeah, trans is the topic at the minute, but tonight I've had a row with someone on Facebook about gay, because I just think they start with trans and then they move on to other people, but that's another debate.
I'll give you a bit of life advice. Never have a row with anyone on Facebook. It never works.
well, it did work, because I reported him, and I think he's probably had a ban now for it. Maybe at the wrong time of year too, if it's going to happen over Christmas, because he was just quite rude. But as I say, I think if they include us as working class, us people from minority groups, that doesn't bode well for Nigel Farage's image, because he's trying to appeal to the working classes and trying to represent the working classes, but he excludes us from the conversation. Like I say, BAME people, LGBT plus people, maybe even disabled people, he excludes us, because that won't get him far if he was to speak on our behalf as well. But as I say, you go to Canal Street and most people there are working class. They talk working class. The drag queens are rough as houses, half of them. Do you know what I mean? And I just don't know why we don't get included in the conversation. And it just, like I said, I'm not averse to going to a pub, like a local pub. I'm often down at my local Wetherspoons, but
they're marvellous places, Wetherspoons. That man Tim Martin, is he a sir yet? I can't remember. He is a genius, bringing cheap beer to people. Listen, Paul, I'm certainly glad you phoned up to give your thoughts on this. So thank you. Please feel included. That's Paul in Bolton. Message here before we take a break. This is a texter who was responding to Craig's point earlier about this idea that the government want all of the pubs to close down so they can stop people dissenting and creating revolution. Craig is talking rubbish. All the revolutionaries now drink coffee and go to the hundreds of coffee shops to discuss their plans. Sadly, I think you might be right. This is Talk.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
I'm really interested in what Craig said inside the last 10 minutes. Do you think there's any mileage behind this idea that this government is making it tougher for pubs to operate, survive, because ultimately they view pubs as a place where people might get together and somehow plot revolution? Do you think that's the case? I mean, you don't have to make too many leaps to make that theory, and I hesitate to use the word conspiracy theory because I'll let you be the judge of that, to actually go, you might be onto something there. I don't know. If you think there's any mileage behind that particular view, 87222 on the text. Start your message with the word talk, 0344 499 1000 for your WhatsApp messages. Also talking about working class. What does that mean? Is it still a thing? If you earn 80 grand a year and you're a train driver, does that make you working class? That kicked off that particular chat this morning. And also with a chat about foreign aid. Let's talk to John in Sutton about that. Hello, John.
Hi, Duncan. Yeah. Foreign aid. You did actually read out my text earlier, but it should come with strings attached. You know, there's no way should we be giving foreign aid to a country that refuses to take back their foreign criminals or their illegal immigrants, or visas for that matter. We really got to get strict on them now, and reform will do that, I think.
What do you make of the argument? And I hear the point you're making, and I hear it made often on this radio station and indeed elsewhere, that it does give the government of the day an element of soft power. And I could make the argument to you that we should, and I'm not telling you this is my view, and I'm quite happy to share my views on stuff, but I can make the argument to you that those kind of countries that are responsible for foreign criminals are exactly the kind of countries we should be giving money to, so they can better control and make the people in their country not commit crime. What would you say to that?
Well, I'm concerned about their citizens, like dual nationals committing crimes here.
Yeah.
So we should use that soft power to make sure they take back their foreign criminals.
How do you see that? How do you see that working? Just so my listener understands.
Well, we say to them, we're giving you so much a year in aid. So just say Pakistan, for example, we're giving them millions of pounds a year in aid. But we say we're going to stop that unless you agree to take back grooming gangs offenders and Pakistani nationals or dual nationals that are in our country illegally.
So, you know, you have a set of criteria, if you like, before you say to any country or organisation that wants money from this country to maybe operate in another country, you say to them, look, you know, this is a criteria to make you eligible to get money from the UK under the banner of foreign aid. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. You've got to be more responsible for people who come to Britain who commit crimes. You need to take them back. Do you think they'd wear that?
Well, they'd have to, otherwise they won't get any foreign aid. And like I say, Labour should have done that straight away as soon as they come into power. I mean, Duncan, the grooming gang scandal, we can't have those men roaming the same streets as their victims.
No.
They should have been deported.
No. I hear what you're saying. I mean, people might put this to you, and I'm just going to put it to you in the spirit of hearing your reaction is, what your reaction is. If someone who's part of a grooming gang was actually born in this country, how would your measures work? Because they wouldn't be from another country, would they? They would theoretically be born, let's say, in, I don't know, a part of Shropshire or Bradford in Yorkshire.
Well, personally, I would still hope to be able to return them to their country of origin.
Mm. Even if they were born in the UK, because that would be their country of origin.
Yes, Duncan. Even if they were first or second generation born in the UK.
Understood.
Because for me, it's an outrageous thing to do.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone would disagree with you at all. I'm just interested in how far your thinking goes. And let's talk about foreign aid as a concept, full stop. Why should we bother in the first place?
Oh, there's a big debate going on now whether or not we should.
Yeah, what do you think? I mean, should we bother, regardless of your point about strings attached, which I think is a good observation to make? What should us as a country, one of the 10 richest countries in the world still, despite what other people might believe, you know, we do, whilst our economy is at best stagnant, and it does appear the last 18 months Labour have not been able to find that elusive growth that they say that they're after. We're still quite a rich country. Why should we bother with foreign aid at all, full stop?
Well, I don't think we should, to be honest. But you know, you'd need to have a proper debate over it, and let's see what are we actually getting, what influence are we actually being able to get by giving it. Otherwise, what is the point of giving it?
Well, I mean, the arguments are quite well made, aren't they? It gives Britain an element of soft power, an element of influence around the world. I mean, I don't know how old you are, John, but you may well remember there was a time when Britain had an empire. Britain was in control of vast chunks of this globe. It's not the case now. There may well be people listening and watching you and I having this chat on Talk at the moment who think we should go back to those days. And you can quite easily build up quite a solid argument that actually foreign aid could be part of that strategy to make Britain great again.
Yeah, but in those days, Duncan, those countries, they didn't have two bobs to rub together. The times have changed. We've moved on since then. They've got nuclear power. They've got nuclear weapons, some of them. You know, times have changed. We need to reevaluate the whole thing. But like I said, I wouldn't give a penny to any country that refused to take back their foreign criminals or illegal immigrants.
Yeah, and you made that point well, and I understand why you said it. Let me just chuck something else at you, because genuinely I'm interested in your response. Do you remember Band-Aid and Live Aid? Do you remember Ethiopia, the famine?
Yes.
Yeah, right. And, you know, what was that, 1984, 1985? And the world saw those pictures coming out of Ethiopia, starving kids. And I don't want to be too grim about it, but some of those pictures, you know, you had babies with flies on their face and stuff like that. And the world came together to try and address that famine, to try and make a difference. So we had that Band-Aid single, Do They Know It's Christmas, very timely for this time of year. You had Live Aid as well. You could argue that ultimately was a form of foreign aid. So if we had something similar to that again in the 21st century, would you still go, do you know what, it's not our problem, we shouldn't be putting any money towards sorting that out?
Well, I wouldn't be against putting a chunk of money into like a UN pot.
Right.
That would be it. I mean, you've got to be so careful now, though, Duncan, because when this aid money or the actual food goes to some of these countries, it's getting stolen by, you know, the army or the insurrection. They're taking the food and they're selling it. People aren't getting it.
Yeah, I mean, there is concern, and again, you're right to raise that point that the money can be sent overseas, and there's not transparency in some cases as to where that cash is going, and actually, is it getting to what I might call the front line, or getting to help those people who genuinely need that assistance? So you think this idea by Reform UK, you reckon that's a vote winner?
Oh, I think so, definitely. I think they've managed the British taxpayers' money far better than the Tories or Labour have ever done. I really do.
We talked a bit on last night's show, and we were talking about Reform UK and the Conservative Party having some kind of pact if it meant keeping Labour out of Downing Street for a second term. And one of the callers, and in the interests of transparency here, he was someone who was a Conservative Party member and an activist, and he made the observation that the problem with Reform UK is they don't have any government experience. They don't have the knowledge. They've not put in what some people might call the hard yards because they've not been in government, so they don't really know what the solutions are to problems. And I've been thinking about that for some of today because I'm sure you understand, and this is not a political point, it's purely just an observational point, which is you've reached the conclusion that Reform would manage taxpayers' money remarkably well, but what's that on the basis of?
Oh, I've listened to Dear Yusuf.
Yep.
I listened to Nigel Farage.
Well, they've never been in government, so I'm only pressing you a little bit because I'm interested in your answer. On what basis makes you think that they're the people to run the economy?
Danny Kruger, as we're speaking, Danny Kruger's drawing all that up right now.
Yeah.
He's preparing